Welcome everyone. Today's topic is real estate bootcamp. This is the first time we ever do this. The objective is to give it all to you. Instead of you attending several webinars, I want to give it all to you, A through Z blueprint. I want to make sure that I give you the secrets, the shortcuts for you to build $1 million portfolio, because the secret of real estate is building an empire in rentals, especially nowadays with the crisis. Okay, so having said that, friends, I just want to give you an idea of basics, right? We're gonna start with basics, and then I'm gonna take you on a quick road trip and show you everything that we're gonna cover today, but it's gonna be simplified, right? So I'm gonna give you the easy, quick version of everything that you need to know, okay? But in an essence, in a nutshell, when you get into real estate, we only have 3 exit strategies, and you have them all on the screen. Either you wholesale, you buy the property, and then once you buy the property, you have the option to flip it or keep it as a rental. Those are the only 3 exits that you have in real estate. But this is the problem. Once you get into real estate, you're gonna encounter tons of roadblocks. That is why most people fail in real estate. Over 95% of people fail in real estate. Why? Because they're unable to overcome these roadblocks. But that's what I'm here today. I'm going to show you the secrets, how you can overcome these roadblocks, okay? So I'm just going to quickly, this is sort of the overview of what we're going to talk about, and we're going to go into more depth into each of them. Not only that, I'm going to show you how to overcome the most common roadblocks and most common mistakes investors make, but I will also help you to give you the secret sauce, how you can, with little money, build an empire in rentals, okay? Because that's the secret sauce for you to become financially free, and not only financially free, but also freedom of time, which is critical, okay, for you to have freedom of time. In fact, due to this crisis, I brought my family to Mexico, so we're all in Mexico, enjoying beautiful weather. It's not as restricted and as in the US. So we're gonna hang out here until the dust settle in the US, okay? So I wanna make sure that you're able to do the same thing. If you wanna travel, be somewhere else, that you're able to accomplish that you don't have to be somewhere. I wanna make sure that you have freedom of time and obviously financial freedom at the same time. So let's get started and then just give you a quick overview of the most common roadblocks that most people face, okay? So, here, people, the first mistake they make, and let me tell you, we made that mistake, not understanding your markets and where to invest. So some people say, well, I'm gonna focus on rentals, I'm gonna focus on flips, but guess what? They invest in the wrong markets. There are flipping markets, there are rental markets. So if you don't identify the good markets where you need to invest, that's where most investors fail. So they start with the wrong foot up front. So we're gonna overcome that obstacle. And then they just can't find deals, right? So how do you find deals? Do you just extend your hand and they come flying to your palm? No way, right? So I'm gonna show you how to quickly access great deals. And then the next roadblock is like, oh my goodness, so I have this property, but is this a good deal or not, right? So people don't understand, they don't know how to analyze deals. So I'm gonna show you how to analyze deals very fast. Certain things that you need to look at. Now next, some people will take the wholesale exit. That's the quickest to get a quick paycheck, right? Which is good. And then I highly suggest you use this strategy along with your flipping or rental strategy, right? So you should always have the wholesale strategy handy with your tool set of strategies. Why? Because that's a way for you to have quick, easy cash handy, right? To do rentals, to do flips. So it's like the fuel that is gonna energize your real estate efforts. Okay, so now, if people decide to continue, right, to the next exit, either flip it or keep it, then obviously they need to worry about funding. So we're gonna focus on funding today because many people forget about flipping or rentals because they say, well, I have no money, so I'm gonna stick to wholesales. That's a big mistake, right? So that's what I'm gonna show you today. That I wanna make sure that having no money, no credit is not gonna be a roadblock for you to do flips or rentals. So we're going to focus on funding. The next one is fixing the property, the rehab. So we're going to talk about some rehabbing shortcuts, some strategies that you should take into account when doing flips or rentals. And then obviously you put the property back on the market for a flip. So I want to talk about these right now. Since the crisis of the coronavirus, right now, it's not the time to do flips. Why? Because they're going to sit in the market. Not only that, but many villages have closed down. So you won't be able to get permits, pre-sale inspections. People cannot go see the property, so it's going to sit in the market. So right now, please hold off on your flips. If you already have a flip on the market, please take it off the market. Have your broker put it in temporary status. MRED won't take that into account as the overall market time. So it's not going to burn the listing. So take it off the market, please. And then we're going to continue and then focus on the rentals, right? So when you decide to buy and hold, obviously this is the place where you need to be. That's the mindset of truly leveraging from other people's money, other people's time, right? That's the true power of real estate, having paid off properties. Why? Because you have passive income. So like my wife, my family right now, we're hanging out in Mexico. It's okay, right? Because we still continue to have passive income. Even if we just do nothing here in Mexico, it's okay, right? Because guess what? We're leveraging from other people's time, other people's money. They still need to work. They still need a place to live. Obviously, they pay rent, and we continue to receive passive income. So this is, I want to make sure this is the place where all of you should aim to be, rentals, okay? And I'm going to give you the secrets for all of these. So take a picture of these, because when Donna lets me know, we're just going to do a quick speed networking. What it means is that you're going to send via the chat to everyone the counties where you're investing and what is it that you bring to the table, what is it that you're lacking, and your contact information, right? So we're going to leverage just to make sure that entirely different and unprecedented. Everyone is able to connect with everyone, okay? That is going to be very critical, because real estate is a people's business. It's who you know, friends. And in fact, that has been my job. That has been my strategy in the last year and a half. My objective has been to become sort of like a sniper, but not for deals. Sniper to get acquainted, get a great business relationship with the top key players in the real estate industry in Chicago, right? So that has brought ChicagoDealVault to the next level, right? Because now we have the resources, the brain power for you to be financially free, because we're going to make those resources available to you. Okay, so make sure that you take a picture of these, because after 18 minutes, we're going to take a mental break and do speed networking. So let's start with the basics. Before we get into the real estate, I want to make sure that you understand the basics. Again, we're going to be able to leverage from other people's money, other people's time. So what do we mean by other people's money? This is the basics that you need to understand. Even if you have 100,000 cash in the bank, you should not use that money, okay? You have to use other people's money. So who's other people's money? I'm talking about hard money lenders and private money lenders. Although right now, due to the crisis, many hard money lenders are putting a freeze on lending, right? So, but this is just temporarily. Maybe by April, May, things are gonna go back to normal, hopefully, and then they're gonna start lending. But I just wanna make sure that you understand the concepts. So we're gonna be leveraging from other people's money. So we're gonna be using hard money lenders and private money lenders. What's the difference? Private money lenders are individuals like you and me with, the only difference is that they chose to be passive investors, but they have a lot of cash. So they're gonna lend money to investors like you and me in exchange for an interest rate. So typically that interest rate goes in the range of 12, 13%. It's a short-term loan, 4 months up to a year, and they usually charge 2 points, okay? A point is 1% on the total loan amount. So the key is that private money lenders, those individuals, is relationship-based, right? Whether, and then Harmony lenders, those are institutions, corporations. So they have a lot of money from hedge funds, and those corporations follow strict guidelines as to how they are going to lend money to you. So this is, in a nutshell, what they're going to be looking for. They're going to be looking for three things. Number one, they want to make sure that you have equity in the property, okay? Number two, they're going to be looking for cash flow, okay? So when you rent the property, they want to make sure that you cash flow not only enough to pay off the operating expenses, so principal, interest, tax, insurance, utilities, but also that you capture a 20% profit on top of that. So if all the operating expenses are 1,000, they want to make sure that your rent is at least 1,200 or 1,250, okay? And also they're going to be looking for the what's called the debt coverage ratio of 1.3. What that means is what I just told you. If it's 1.3, they want to make sure that you have excess cash flow of 30%. So you pay all your operating expenses and you still have an excess of 30% cash flow. So if the rent, if the rent is 1,300, all your expenses for the property to keep the property running should not exceed 1,000. So they want you to cash flow 300. That's what they're going to be looking for. Equity, about 25%. Cash flow, and the debt coverage ratio. So the cash flow will be determined by the debt coverage ratio. So it's going to be about 20 to 30% cash flow. Okay, and then we're going to be leveraging from other people's time. So what do we mean by that? We're referring to tenants, right? So tenants are going to be running on the treadmill on your behalf. So they're going to be working, paying rent, and that rent is going to pay for your rentals. Does that make sense? So we're going to need to leverage from other people's time. And at the same time, when we speed network, you're going to be leveraging from other people. Why? Because you may not have everything that it takes to make a successful transaction. That is why when you partner up with somebody, you're leveraging from other people's time, right? So let's continue with the basics. The next basic concept, you've got to have a corporation, okay? So what does that mean? Why is this important? Why do I care to have a corporation? Well, there are three big reasons why you need to have an entity, a corporation. Reason number one is for asset protection. So what does that mean? When you buy real estate, okay, it has to be under your entity. Why? Because if something happens to the tenant or to the neighbor in your property, you're going to be in a lawsuit, right? So you can lose all your personal assets, your shirt, the property, everything that you possess. But if you have the property under an entity, the most you can lose is the property itself, okay? And a good example of that is the collapse of the Porch 10 years ago in Chicago. Guess what? That owner had the building in an entity, okay? So he ended up having tons of lawsuits because there were over 10 people injured and a couple of dead people. So the lawsuits came left and right. So he ended up losing only that building, okay, to satisfy the creditors, all the lawsuits. Why? Because he was just in that entity, that particular property, okay? Had he not had the property in an entity and in his personal name, he would have lost not only that building, but many other properties that he owns, plus potentially personal assets. So this is very critical, asset protection. The second reason why you need to have an entity, for funding purposes. So if you want to get funding for your deals, guess what? Private money lenders and harmony lenders are going to lend you money on your entity, not under your name. There's a very simple reason why. Because if they lend you money under your name and you default on the payment, they're going to take you to foreclosure process. Illinois is a judicial state, which means that they need to take you through the court system to foreclose on your property. And guess what? Because of bureaucracy, that process is going to take up to 2 years. So do you think the bank wants to have their money held up for 2 years? No way. That is why if they put if they give you money under your entity, they can foreclose on the entity in less than 6 months, okay? They can repossess your property in less than 6 months if it's under an entity. So that is the second reason why you need to have an entity for your rentals and your flips, okay? They are going to be looking for an entity, not under your personal name. And the third reason to have an entity is for tax benefits. That is just huge, friends. The biggest tax benefit is your depreciation, okay? Depreciation of the property itself, of every single rehab project, like the bathroom, the kitchen, every project depreciates over time. Every project has a lifespan. Let's say a bathroom is 7 years, and the kitchen 9 years, and so forth, right? So you're gonna be able to write off so much expenses under the entity so long your property is purchased under the entity. So I'm gonna recap. 3 benefits. Number 1, asset protection. So you need to cover your assets, having your property under your entity. Reason number 2, funding. Lenders are gonna give you money under your entity. They won't give you money under your personal name because of the foreclosure process in Illinois. It can take up to 2 years to repossess your property if it's under your name, whereas it's gonna take 6 months under your entity. And reason number 3, tax benefits. And the most important benefit is gonna be depreciation, okay? It's just huge, huge, okay? Now, let's go to the next basic point that we need to cover. Funding, right? So let's talk about funding. That's a big myth, right? That people believe, oh, I cannot get into real estate because I don't have any money, no credit. Well, that's a huge myth, right? So once you create your entity, the first thing that you have to do is apply for business credit cards, okay? And if you don't have the name of the banks, please send us an email, okay, to support. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Support at ChicagoDealVault.com. We're gonna give you all the banks of their URL, their contact information for you to apply to be for business credit cards. Because let me tell you, I didn't know any better, so I hired a third-party company to apply for business credit cards. They charged me 10% on the credit that we got. So they got us $40,000. Guess how much I had to pay them? $4,000. That was so ridiculous because all they did was to fill out applications online. To me, it was a ripoff. I want to make sure that you are not ripped off. So I'm going to give you all the banks, their URL and their phone number. As soon as you have your entity created, then you need to apply for business credit cards. It's very simple. Okay, so I got the 18-minute mark. So do me a favor, everyone, please, on the chat, type in the counties you're interested in buying, what you bring to the table, what you lack, and your contact information. Boom, let's just take 2 minutes, 2-minute speed networking. So everyone, please start typing on the chat. I wanna make sure that you connect between each other because remember, real estate is a people's business. We're just gonna take 2 minutes, okay, for you to do that. And then I'm gonna continue talking about funding. Okay, perfect. So we got somebody already. Perfect, this is awesome. Delvin Young, so he already sent his contact information, where the areas he's looking into investing. And let me tell you why the areas is very important, because if some of you, let's say Jim is interested in investing in Waukegan, but maybe Donna is interested in investing in South Shore, it's too big of a distance, right? So you guys may not be a match to partner up, right? For a flip or for a rental, maybe for a wholesale, right? So I wanna make sure that everyone sends out their contact information if you feel comfortable, right? Otherwise, just by name, send out what you bring to the table, what you lack, and the areas you're interested in, and then your contact information. Very simple, okay? So we're gonna continue the conversation in just a minute. I wanna make sure that everyone takes time to just send out your contact information for you to connect with each other. And the objective for this, we're killing 2 birds with 1 shot. It's not only to give you a mental break because after 18 minutes, your cells will overflow and you won't be able to understand and capture everything that you should, right? So that is why we're just taking a mental break and we're gonna continue. Okay, so great job. Everyone is putting their contact information. So make sure that you capture that, put in your first name and last name. That is very important. Many people have their same name, but obviously this is optional, okay? If you don't feel comfortable, you don't need to do this. Okay, so let's continue, guys. So let's continue with funding. You need to apply for business credit cards. Why is this so critical? Because of the first basic point that I mentioned earlier. We're gonna be leveraging from other people's money. In this case, we're gonna leverage from banks' money, business credit cards. And then when I talk about the secret sauce, our strategy, I'm gonna show you how we put everything all together, okay? So now that I'm talking about the business credit cards, once you apply for the business credit cards after you created your entity, so you can create an S Corp, a C Corp, or an LLC. So very simple, friends. Stay away from C Corps. Why? Because double taxation. Either you create an S Corp or an LLC. That simple. Now, which one should you create, an LLC or an S Corp? If you are a single individual, create an S Corp. If you are two or more, create an LLC, okay? Two or more, LLC. If it's only yourself, S Corp, okay? Don't create a C Corp because double taxation. You're gonna be taxed at the corporate level and then at the individual level. So please don't create a C Corp, S Corp or LLC. That's simple. Now, let's continue talking about funding. Funding. Once you create or apply for business credit lines, you also need to reach out to Harmony lenders. And I'm gonna give you the names of the Harmony lenders we have in ChicagoDealVault. Harmony lenders are going to give you a line of credit. So this is different, line of credit versus business credit cards. A line of credit, it's like a huge credit card, okay? So when you reach out to the Harmony lenders, such as Renovo, Barnett, Chicago Funding, Constructive Loans, Lima Capital, I'm gonna give you all those names in just a second so that you reach out to them. Just tell them that you need a line of credit. So they're gonna pretty much check your credit. They're gonna ask you for your assets. They wanna see how liquid you are, meaning your bank accounts, your pension plans, 401ks, and so forth. And based on your credit and liquidity, they're gonna take that. Let's say if you have your 50,000 liquidity, they're gonna multiply that by either 5 or 10. So based on that, they're gonna give you a 250 up to $500,000 line of credit, which you're gonna use that when making offers, because it's just a piece of letter that is gonna state your line of credit, your interest rate, time of closing, and so forth, many details. So it is very important for you to apply for line of credit, okay? Think of this as a big, humongous credit card with the Harmony lender, okay? Usually the interest rate is gonna depend on your credit, but it's gonna go between 7% all the way to 12%, but it's okay, right? If they give you the money to buy a great deal, it doesn't matter, okay? So let's continue.
You want me to start the time now?
Please, Donna.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with where most investors make a mistake. Let me just tell you, we bought a rental in a bad neighborhood. We couldn't get contractors to go there. We couldn't rent it in 2 months, and the first tenant we got never paid a single penny. So we ended up doing an eviction. That's what happens when you invest in the wrong market. So let's talk about identifying hot markets. First of all, you need to have very clear vision of what your strategy is, whether a flip or a rental, because there are flipping markets and rental markets. So I want to talk about What makes a good rental market? What makes a good flipping market? You've got to understand these, because if you want to do a flip and you buy in a rental market, you're going to lose money, and vice versa. If you want to do a rental and buy in a flipping market, it's not going to work out. Okay, so I want to make sure that you overcome this obstacle. So what is it that you need to look at? Let's talk about flipping markets. What's a great flipping market? Okay, a great flipping market is a market where properties are selling very fast. They go like hotcakes, right? Off the shelf. They sell quickly, okay? And a good rental market is where the rents are very high, but yet the purchase price is low. Does that make sense? That's simple. So flipping market, properties sell very fast. Rental market, it doesn't matter if it sells fast or not, but you care about rents being high, but yet property prices low, okay? So let me just give you a quick example. Evanston. Evanston has high rents, okay? But guess what? Property prices are very high, so your numbers are not gonna work. Let me give you an example of a great rental market. Berkeley. Berkeley is #1 rental market. Why? Because you can collect for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath up to $2,100. Yet, property price, you can buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Berkeley for $150,000 up to $180,000. So the numbers are gonna work great. So Berkeley is an example of a great rental market. Another great rental market is Allsip. Allsip, you can collect rents at least $1,800 all the way to $2,000, okay? And yet, you can buy a property, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath for $150,000. So the numbers are gonna work amazing. So how did I compute, or how did I know that the numbers would work without doing an analysis? I'm gonna give you the shortcut. There's the shortcut of the 1% rule, okay? So if you buy a property for $200,000, guess what? You need to collect at least 1% in rent of that amount. So if you collect $2,000, the numbers are gonna work amazing. So think about this. Think about Berkeley. If you buy a property for $150,000 and you collect $1,200, $2,000, 1% of 150,000 is 1,500, right? But if you collect 2,000, you're cash flowing right off the bat 500 positive, right? So this is how you can quickly analyze properties and cash flow. Just take 1% of the purchase price, and then that should be your rent, okay? And then flipping markets. Flipping markets, this is what we're looking at. Properties need to sell very fast. So there's one indicator that you need to look at in every single market if you're gonna do a flip. And that indicator, it's called months of housing supply. So what does that mean, months of housing supply? Let me give you an example. If, for instance, let's take Northbrook. If in Northbrook, 30 properties are selling a month, okay? You need to look at how many properties are available for sale in Northbrook. So let's assume that there are 60 properties active or for sale in Northbrook. So you have 60 properties for sale, but every month 30 are selling. So assuming there are no new properties coming into the market, how long would it take before you run out of inventory in Northbrook? Just do the math. 60 properties is the pool and 30 are selling every month. So how long would it take before all the properties are sold? 2 months, right? So that is called the months of housing supply. How many properties, how long would it take before you run out of inventory in that particular neighborhood? So the lower the number, the better the flipping market, okay? So when you look at flipping markets, you need to look at the months of housing supply to be 2.5 or less. So what it means is that in 2.5 months, all the active properties should be sold out. That's it. We're gonna be looking at some areas that the months of housing supply are like 4, 5, 6 months. So that means that it's gonna take 6 months for the entire inventory to run out, assuming no new properties coming to the market. That is ridiculous. Imagine that is just market time, right? Add on the rehab time. So you're gonna sit on a flip for 5, 6, 7, 8 months if you pick the wrong flipping market. Does that make sense? But if the property is selling like 2 months, think about this. If the months of housing supply is 2 months and you spent about a month in rehab, you can move your property in 3 months on a flip, right? So you need to be in and out on your transactions if it's a flip. So that is why the months of housing supply is so critical, friends. That's what drives a successful flip, months of housing supply, okay? And obviously in Chicago Deal Vault, we give you that information. So you don't need to go to the census, look up that information. We give you that information. So you don't even need to think, create, nothing. We give it to you. And not only that, but I'm gonna show you in Deal Vault, you just in seconds identify the top flipping markets and the top rental markets like that, okay? So you don't need to break your head, think, create, work, nothing. Okay, so I'm gonna show you that when we get into Deal Vault. I just wanna make sure that you understand the concepts, okay? Let's move on to the next slide. So this is something that I put together that I use. I'm gonna go quickly through these, but I wanna make sure that you take a picture of these once it goes, I complete going through these, because these are the shortcuts that the pros use. People like Andrew Holmes, Rahul Vishal, Frank Montrose, Ryan Smith, Joe Mueller, Dan Carlton, all the top players use these shortcuts when analyzing and looking at properties. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this. When you identify hot markets, the sweet spot to buy rentals should be less than 150,000 in B areas, okay? Now, if you're gonna focus on flips, you can go up as high as 250, but ideally you focus on A, B areas, okay, for flips. I need to update the slide. It should be B plus A areas, okay? So that is very critical to stick to these numbers. Now, because of the coronavirus crisis, guys, I highly recommend that you stay away from C markets, okay? So we categorize the markets A through D, A being the most expensive, D being the most challenging areas, right? Now, because of this crisis, the markets that are being hit the most are the C as in Charles and the D, okay? Why? Because those markets, hourly workers live there, right? So those are the ones who are being laid off first. Hourly workers, okay? Labor-intensive jobs, okay? They have labor-intensive jobs, blue collar, okay? So that is why those are the people who are gonna fall behind the mortgage payment and also fall behind the rent payment. So please, right now, stay away from flips, and then for rentals, stick to B markets, okay? Those are the people who are being hit the least. They're gonna feel the pinch, but not as bad, right? Why? Because they typically have a salary, a yearly salary, and not only that, but they also work remotely from home, okay? So they're being sent home and they can still do their job from home. BA areas, okay? That is why you need to stick to those areas right now. Okay, let's go to the next shortcut. Okay, so finding deals. We're gonna be focusing on off-market deals. So properties that are technically not for sale. And right now, let me tell you, because many owners cannot afford to pay the mortgage. Why? Because many people are getting laid off. There's gonna be a huge wave of foreclosure properties coming into the market. So those properties are technically not for sale. So there are distressed owners who need a solution. And that's where we come into the picture. We need to intercept those properties, give them a solution. If they need to sell the property to liquidate or cash out on their equity, or because they just can't pay the mortgage, that's where we come into the picture to buy those properties, give them a relocation package. So we're gonna be finding or accessing great off-market deals. I'm gonna go over the foreclosure process. And also, very important, this is my favorite lead pipe. We're gonna intercept the properties before they go to the judicial auction, okay? And we're gonna talk about that in just a second. So 30 to 60 days before they go to the judicial auction, the sellers are gonna be extremely motivated, because if they do nothing, they're gonna lose their home, lose their equity, and ruin their credit. And then we're gonna be looking at bank-owned properties, or REOs, right? How can you buy properties from the bank directly? So we're gonna go over that. Let's go to the next slide. Analyzing deals in seconds, okay? So we can analyze deals in seconds. This is what you need to look at. We're gonna be able to pull comps within a 1 mile radius, and the comps need to be in the last 6 months. So properties that sold in the last 6 months, okay? Appraisers don't go beyond 6 months. So you need to stay within a 6-month period. And then the square footage should be plus minus 20%, okay? So if one property has 1,000 square feet, you can use properties that are 800 or 1,200. So between 800 to 1,200, it's a good range to keep in mind. The square footage is important, okay, when you look at comps. But I'm gonna give you an example hands-on on DealVault, how quickly and easy we can do this, analyze deals in seconds, okay? So we have some rule of thumbs that you need to know, even without using a calculator, okay? You need to be able to understand these rule of thumbs. When you do flips, when you do rentals, what is it that you're gonna be able to offer for the property? Because when you analyze deals, you need to be able to, I'm gonna put all of these right now so that you can see them all, okay? You need to be able to quickly analyze the property. So there are 3 numbers that you need to know when analyzing the property, okay? Number 1, the ARV, after repair value. So once you make all the repairs, how much can you sell the property for, okay? So that number is so critical. Number 2, how much is gonna be your rehab estimate, okay? Look at my rule of thumb right there, the last rule of thumb. What I typically do when I look at, this is the disclosure, I look at properties that are in BC markets under 1,500 square feet, and that the rehab is light to medium. Then you can safely use this rule of thumb. Take the square footage and multiply it by 2 or $20. So if the square footage of a property is, let's say, 1,500, multiply that by 2. 1,500 times 2, it's 30 or 30,000. So your rehab is gonna be about 30,000. You need to add about 5 to 10,000 for unexpected, okay? So again, this works for BC markets where the rehab is light to medium. What do we mean by that? So you are not, this is what you're doing on the property. You're doing cosmetic work. So you're doing the flooring, updating the kitchen, updating the bathrooms, light fixtures, paint, landscaping, that's about it. This is what you are not doing. You're not putting new windows, you're not doing a new roof, you're not putting a new electric system, you are not doing a new plumbing system, you're not putting a new HVAC system like water heater, AC, furnace. You're not doing that, okay? So this works amazing. Just take the square footage times 2 and it works really well. Now we have this rule of thumb of the 70%, the 65%. This is what I use when knowing how much to offer for the property. So when analyzing deals, you need to know 3 things: ARV, your rehab estimate, and how much can you offer for the property, okay? What is the max top dollar that you can pay for the property? And that is gonna be driven based on your exit strategy. If you do a flip, you're gonna use the 70% rule. If you do a wholesale, you're gonna use the 65% rule. If you do rental, you use the 80% rule. But typically what I like to do, even if we do rentals, guess what, guys? I use the flip rule, or the 70%. Why? Because my intention is to do a rental, but if later we change our mind, I wanna make sure that I'm able to do the flip, right? I wanna make sure that I have my 2 exit options available. So if you overpay for the property, your only exit strategy will be a rental. you will not be able to do a flip. So when we buy rentals, guess what? We use the flip formula because I want to make sure that I pay the flip price, even if I pay for the rental. Does that make sense, guys? So that is why I didn't even put the 80% rule. I'm just giving it to you right now for FYI. So this is how it works. The 70% rule of thumb is you take your ARV. So in the example that I gave you, let's assume the ARV is 100,000 times 70% is obviously 70,000 minus the rehab. So if the rehab is going to be, let's say in this case, 20,000, then 70% of 100,000 is 70,000 minus the 20,000, that's 50,000. So your max allowed offer should be 50,000 for the property. Does that make sense? Now, the question is what does this 70% rule mean? So the 30%, I put it in there. So the 20% is just your profit, okay, for the flip. If you're not making 20% on your flip, don't even do the flip. And 10% is for your carrying cost, okay? Closing expenses, holding expenses, that's what that percent is for. So that's the formula. So again, 100,000 property, multiply that by 70 minus the rehab. So 70% of 100,000 is 70,000. If my rehab is going to be 20,000, the most you should pay is 50,000. How did I come up with my rehab? Multiply the square footage times 2. So if the property is 1,000 square feet, multiply by the 20% rule is 20,000, or by $20 is 20,000. So these are shortcuts, guys. You don't need a calculator. You don't need anything to be able to analyze deals in seconds, okay? Let's move on to the next rule of thumbs. Okay, so market your, let me see, did somebody have a question? Let me see, nothing in the chat, perfect. Please feel free to stop me if you have a question. And then if you're gonna do a wholesale, please, this is a huge mistake that many investors make. Your target audience should be cash buyers, okay, not investors. This is so critical and many investors still don't get it. So what does that mean? If you get a property on the contract that you want to wholesale, what does wholesaling mean? It means that you're not buying the property for a flip or a rental. You're just going to reassign the rights of the contract to somebody else. And that somebody else should be a cash buyer. A cash buyer is somebody who is used to buying MLS properties, paying retail prices cash. That's what it is. So people out in the market pay cash for MLS deals. That's your target audience. I'm going to tell you who you should not wholesale the property to: other investors. I'm going to tell you why. Because other investors like yourself, they need meat in the bone. So they're not going to give you a great wholesaling fee. They're just going to give you 5,000, 10,000, right? But if you wholesale that to a cash buyer, your wholesale fee could be 10, 15, 30 and more. Does that make sense? Again, if it's another investor, a wholesale to another investor, they just want to pay you 5,000, 10,000. So it's not even worth it. You've got to target cash buyers. And we give you the cash buyers in DealVault, okay? I'm going to give you an example. Somebody actually from DealVault got a property in the contract, and that person wholesaled the property instead of a cash buyer to another wholesaler. So the wholesaler just paid her 7,000, but that wholesaler turned around and wholesaled the property to a cash buyer for 20,000 profit. Does that make sense? So please keep that in mind. So let me give you just another example. A wholesaler wholesaled a property to us in this hot market is in Ukrainian Village. Okay, we paid 110,000 for that property, but we are investors, so we paid a 15,000. It was a 15,000 wholesaling fee. Guess what we did? We turned around, we put that into the MLS, and we sold it for 200,000. Did you hear what I said? A wholesaler wholesaled the property to an investor, to us. Big mistake, right? That wholesaler should have done what's called wholetailing, just put the property on the MLS, which is what we did, right? So we just paid him 15,000, but that property was worth over 400,000 after repairs were done, right? But we didn't want to do any work on the property, so we just put it back on the MLS, and in less than a week, we got like 5 full price offers. So we wholesale that property for a profit of 80,000. So that is just a clear example that you need to wholesale to cash buyers. And we're gonna give you the cash buyers, okay? Let's go to the next one. The next one is, okay. Let me move my screens here. Okay, so present your deal to get it funded. Okay, that is so critical, guys. So now let's assume that you found a great deal, that you got it on the contract, and then that you wanna do a flip or a rental, right? So therefore you need to purchase the property. So one of the mistakes that people make is that they have a great deal, but they do not know how to present it to hard money lenders or private money lenders to get it funded. So I'm gonna show you how we're gonna create a report, okay, that has everything that they want. What is it that they want? I'm gonna tell you the secrets, okay? Nobody has said anything about this, but I'm gonna tell you the secrets. Hard money lenders and private money lenders, they're looking for 3 things. They wanna make sure that you have two successful exit strategies. They wanna make sure that if you're not able to rent the property, you can still flip the property. Why? Because their money is at risk. Okay, so if you give them 2 successful exit strategies analysis, they're gonna love you. And DealVault does that for you, okay? So I'm gonna show you that in a live demo. The second thing they're gonna be looking at, they're gonna be looking at your ARV, how you came up with your ARV. So they're gonna be looking at the comps. They wanna make sure that you're comparing apples with apples, okay? So when we pull comps, I'm gonna show you that you need to be, what I said before, within 20% plus minus square footage, properties that sold in the last 6 months within a 1 mile radius. Okay, so they're gonna be looking at that thing, that as second point. And the third point they're gonna be looking at is this ratio called DSCR. Some lenders call it DCR, debt coverage ratio. Some say debt service coverage ratio. It's the same thing, guys. So what it means is what I explained to you earlier. They wanna make sure that your rent covers all the operating expenses of the property, plus you cash flow an additional, in this case, 33%, okay? So if all the, let's say, principal, the interest, meaning the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance are 1,000, you need to collect 1,300 in rents. How do you determine that? The rule of 1%. Remember, if you pay 150,000 for the property, 1% of that is 1,500. So you need to collect at least 1,500 for the property. And if they're asking you for 1.33 DCR, they want you to collect at least 1,300, right? But we're collecting 1,500, so we're gonna be good, okay? So I'm gonna recap. 3 things they're looking for. They're looking for 2 successful exit strategies, a flip and a rental. That is why, guys, when we buy rentals, we use the flip formula. Why? Because I wanna make sure that I have a rental and obviously a flip exit strategy available to me. Second thing they're gonna be looking at, how you came up with the ARV. So they wanna make sure that they see the side-by-side, apples with apples comps, and DealVault does that for you. You don't need to worry about that. And DealVault also computes the DCR, okay? So you don't need to think, work, nothing. I'm gonna show you how quickly in seconds we generate this report they're looking for. And then, how are you going to build a $1 million portfolio, okay? So the key, friends, is to use asset-based lenders. This is so huge, guys. It's so simple, but at the same time, people make this mistake. You need to use asset-based lenders. What does that mean? I'm talking about hard money lenders and private money lenders. They care about the deal itself. They don't care so much about your credit. Let me tell you, your credit is gonna determine what your interest rate is gonna be, okay? But they care about you having a great deal that cash flows and that meets the DCR. That's it. They are asset-based lenders, okay? So you should not go to the big banks like Chase, Bank of America, Homebridge, and so forth, right? Because they are conventional lenders. They're going to be looking at your tax return. They're going to be looking at your personal income, your credit scores, and so forth. So that's a showstopper. You're not going to build a huge million rental portfolio if you use conventional lenders, because they just want you to buy moving, livable, ready properties. Who wants those? Because they don't have enough meeting the bond for you to add value and make a profit. You won't have equity in those type of properties. Those are MLS deals. Those are the deals they can fund. But we are investors. Therefore, you must use asset-based lenders, which are hard money lenders and private money lenders. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, let me make sure that, let me check the chat. So we're all good, perfect. Okay, now let's continue to the next slide. And that is, I wanna make sure that everyone takes a picture of the previous slide. So I'm gonna go back. Please, everyone, take a picture of this slide from your computer. If you are on your cell phone, just take a screenshot, okay? This slide is very critical. It's just all the shortcuts that the pros use, okay? They don't deviate from this. This is what they use, okay? Make sure that you take a screenshot or take a picture of this, okay? Perfect. Okay, let's move on to the next. Okay, insider secrets to foreclosures. We as investors need to buy properties that are technically not for sale. We don't want to buy properties from the MLS. Why? MLS is very saturated. Everyone is looking at that. MLS is good for you to wholesale properties or wholesale properties, but you're not going to find the best deals, right? Where the big profit margins are, they're not MLS deals, okay? Off-market deals is where you need to focus on. And right now, due to the coronavirus crisis, you need to focus on rentals that are off-market. So for that, you need to understand the secrets, the insider ins and out of the foreclosure process. So I'm gonna explain that in a nutshell. I'm gonna show you the next slide. I need you to take a picture of this slide, okay? Or take a screenshot from your cell phone, whatever it takes. You've got to understand this foreclosure process. So I'm gonna start with just a quick overview of what the foreclosure process is all about, okay? Very simple, guys. When somebody takes a loan from the bank and they default on the loan, guess what's gonna happen? The bank is gonna come after the owner and they're gonna say, okay, listen, we made an agreement, I give you the loan, you're supposed to pay the mortgage, you are not paying it, therefore I'm taking over your property. That's it. But guess what? In Illinois, there are two types of states, judicial and non-judicial. What does that mean? Judicial states like Illinois means that they need to go through the court system to foreclose on the owner. Whereas non-judicial, they don't need to go through the court system to foreclose on somebody. Therefore, this is so critical, guys. Therefore, non-judicial states like California can foreclose on the owner in 6 months or less. That is why those markets rebound a lot quicker. That is why they recycle distressed properties into the market a lot quicker than judicial states like Illinois. We will always be lagging behind. Why? Because the foreclosure process going through the court system and the bureaucracy can take up to 2 years. Okay, so for those distressed properties to go back into the market can take up to 2 years. That is why we're always going to be lagging behind, and therefore banks are not going to be lending on your personal name. They want to lend under the entity to bypass the foreclosure regulations through the court system, right? So they can foreclose on the entity like if Illinois was a non-judicial state in less than 6 months. That is so critical for you to understand. Again, Illinois is a judicial state. You need to go, or the banks need to go through the court system, which, you know, takes just forever. So let's just quickly go over this. I give you as an example, an owner that owes only $50,000 on the loan, and the property is worth $150,000 after all the repairs. So ARV 150. So the owner has about $100,000 equity. Those are the properties we're going to be targeting as investors, right? Why? Because they truly need help, and we have a lot of room to negotiate or to bargain when we have a lot of equity in the property. So let's just quickly understand what the foreclosure process is all about. Somebody needs a payment, and guess what? After 30, 60, 90 days, you know, the bank is gonna be all over the owner via phone, letters, emails, and so forth, right? If the owner, for whatever reason, can't concur with the loan, then the bank is gonna officially file a lawsuit against the owner. So the owner will officially be in pre-foreclosure, okay? So the legal term is lien pendant. You're gonna be hearing lien pendant. It's the same thing as being in pre-foreclosure. So the objective as investors is to provide a solution for the distressed owners. What does that mean? We need to approach them. We're gonna be targeting high equity owners, right? And we can say, hey, listen, if you want to sell your property and settle somewhere else, we can help you, right? So we can pay you, obviously, the $50,000 that is owed, plus, let's say, 25,000 more, like a sort of like a relocation package that pays for them to settle somewhere else, a down payment, security deposit, moving expenses, storage, whatever. So we pay, let's say, 75,000 for that property. Imagine, so we buy 50 cents on the dollar. But keep in mind that people who are in pre-foreclosure are going to be in denial. What does that mean? They're thinking they're gonna get back on their feet and be able to come current with the loan. But over 90% of the times, that's not gonna happen. So when you reach out to people in pre-foreclosure, they might hang up on you, okay? They may not wanna talk to you because they believe they're gonna get out of it by themselves. Most likely they won't, okay? But this is one way where you can pay 50 cents on the dollar. Now, time goes by, and then after 6 to 9 months, then the judge is going to say, okay, it's been long enough. Owner, you have not concurred with the loan. We are going to send your property to the judicial auction at the courthouse. So they issue what's called the notice of trustee sale. What it means is they give an auction date to the owner. And typically they give them about 2 to 3 months, okay? And this is a great motivated seller. Why? Because in about 2 to 3 months, they're gonna lose their equity, their home, and ruin their credit. So this is by far the most motivated lead pipe, okay? Upcoming auctions, okay? And we're gonna be obviously targeting upcoming auctions with high equity. And here, again, you can do the same strategy, offer them obviously about 25,000 or so in this scenario. So you'll pay 50 cents on the dollar. So what happens if we do nothing, right, to help the owner at the pre-foreclosure stage or the upcoming auction? Then the property is going to go to the judicial auction. By the way, due to the coronavirus, all judicial auctions have been postponed 30 days, okay? And that can continue, okay? So right now, there are not 0 judicial auctions anywhere. They're being postponed, okay? But let's assume, for example's sakes, the property goes to the judicial auction at the courthouse. What that is, it's a big room where you have a lot of investors. I call them sharks, right? It's like the Shark Tank. Why? Because they're gonna be overbidding. They're gonna be fighting each other. What's gonna be the problem there? There are 3 problems when you go to the judicial auction. First of all, you overpay for the property because you are overbidding each other. Second problem, you have to pay cash within 24 hours for that property. And third problem, which to me is the biggest, sight unseen. You're buying something you're not seeing from the inside. So people have lost what they don't even have, meaning they're hurt when they go to the judicial auction. So please, friends, don't pursue judicial auctions unless you are a very seasoned investor. We understand the ins and outs of the foreclosure process, yet we don't buy properties at the judicial auction. We have not bought a single property at the judicial auction. Why? Because we don't want to risk, even if we have the cash, We don't want to pay cash for the property, especially not seeing the property from the inside and overbidding for the property. That is just ridiculous. So we don't do that. Many seasoned investors do that, but by all means, please don't attempt to do that when you're a new investor. You need to intercept the property before, at the pre-foreclosure or at the upcoming auction. I'm gonna tell you the benefits of intercepting the property before it hits the judicial auction. Benefit number one, you get to see the property from the inside. Why? Because you're connecting directly with the owner. So you build rapport, you make an appointment, you see the property from the inside, and you see everything that there is to fix in the property. So you can come up with a very accurate rehab estimate when you see the property from the inside. Second benefit, you can fund the deal. So you can use an asset-based lender to give you the money. Again, we're leveraging from other people's money. You're not using money of your own, which is huge, right? Benefit number three, you will never overpay for the property. Why? Because you have no competition, zero competition. It's only you and the owner. There's no one in between. You and the owner. There's not even a broker in between. So they don't need to pay a commission. So the owner doesn't, it's a win-win for both of you. The owner doesn't need to make any repairs. They don't need to use a broker and pay a brokerage fee and closing expenses and carrying costs, none of that stuff. We are buying the property as is from the owner. We're gonna do the repairs. We're gonna close on the owner's time frame. We have zero competition. We get to see the property from the inside, and we fund the deal using an asset-based lender. You see what I mean? It's a win-win, especially for the upcoming auctions, because the owner is extremely motivated. They know they're gonna lose their property, so they will be willing to talk to you. Whereas in the pre-foreclosure process, the first 6 months, you may get hung up on, but please don't give up. They become a lead in your pipeline. You should continue to be in touch with them, and by hopefully when they get an auction date, they will realize that unless they do something, they're gonna lose everything. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so what happens if it goes to the judicial auction at the courthouse and nobody buys the property, right? Because of whatever reason, maybe the starting bid was too high, so it's not worth it. Nobody buys the property. So at that point, the property becomes REO. It becomes the bank's asset, okay? And let me tell you something. The bank is not in the business of real estate. The bank is in the business of lending money. That's how they make money. Therefore, they want to dispose of the property. They want to get rid of the property. So the bank is going to do two things, or either one of those two things. They will either give it to an REO broker right here, or they're going to send it to the auctioning platforms, okay? So before they do that, guess what? When the property becomes banked on or REO, we let you know in ChicagoDealVault. At any of these stages, we let you know when that happens. So you can buy the property directly from the bank, but the secret is that obviously they need to have high equity, and then they need to be small banks. You need to go to the small community banks, right? You cannot go to the Chase, Bank of America, and so forth, because they have a foreclosure department. They are not gonna sell you or me 1, 2, 3 properties. They wanna sell bulk, 5, 10, 30, 40, 100 properties all at once, right? So they're not gonna talk to you. You will not even get to talk to the asset manager, okay? They won't talk to you. So go to small community banks. So we have this inventory in ChicagoDealVault. Okay, now let me tell you, right here you see some statuses like postpone, they go sell to third party, cancel. There are many ways that the auction, the judicial auction, can be postponed or can be canceled. When can the auction be canceled? If, let's say, you and I reach out to the owner before it goes to the auction and we buy the property from them. At that point, since we satisfy the debt or the plaintiff, which is the bank, suing, then the auction gets canceled, right? When can the auction get postponed, the judicial auction? It gets postponed if, only if, the owner files for bankruptcy. They don't need to follow through the bankruptcy proceedings. They just need to file for bankruptcy. That's a strategy for the owner to buy time and maybe try to get a short sale from the bank approved. So that's how they can buy time and postpone the judicial auction, by filing for bankruptcy, okay? So now, let's go back to the end of the foreclosure process. When the bank sends the property to the REO broker or to the auctioning platforms, at that point, it's going to hit the MLS. And at that point, you're going to be buying the same property. Instead of paying 50 cents on the dollar, you're going to be almost paying retail price, 145 or so. If they go to the auctioning platforms like Hubsu, auction.com, and so forth, again, it's the same story. You're going to be bidding against other investors. You might need to pay cash on those sites. Some sites allow you to finance. You might not see the property from the inside. So at that point, you again will overpay for the property, okay? But today, I'm gonna show you how we can, through ChicagoDealVault, buy all those REOs through the back door, okay? So before anybody knows, we know how much the bank is gonna sell it for, and we can pull it from these auctioning platforms. That's just huge, guys. We've pulled a number of properties without competition. We stand first in line. We just say we want that property, boom, we buy it, even if it's from a large bank. I'm gonna show you how that works, okay? Please make sure you take a screenshot, a picture of this. This is just so critical for you to understand, okay? Now let's quickly take a mental break. So please send to everyone. Let's Speed Network, send via the chat. What counties, what you are pursuing, your exit strategy, what is it that you lack, what is it that you need, and your contact information, okay? That is so critical. Everyone, please, if you have not done that, and if you feel comfortable, please post it in the chat. That is very critical because I want to make sure that you all work together. It's just a mental break for about a minute, 2 minutes, because the foreclosure process is just too much information that I just gave you. Take a mental break. Drink some water, keep hydrated. Stretch. So this is a time for you to stretch, stand up, move, have a drink. Just a 2-minute break, guys. And you know, in real estate, Dan Carlton, he likes to call the 3 T's. Treasure, which is money. These are the pillars that you need to be successful in real estate. So he says that 3 T's are treasure, time, and talent. So treasure is money, talent is knowledge, and time, obviously, that's what you need. Okay, guys, so everyone ready to continue? Let's continue, okay? I don't want to overflow your brain cells. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so this is what I was going to tell you earlier. So this is what you're going to be able to do through ChicagoDealVault. Okay, somebody raised their hand. This is a time for questions. If you raise your hand, you can unmute yourself. So this is what we've been doing for the last year, and this is what we're making available to you. So imagine if you could stand in front of the counter and say, I want this and this property because I know how much you're going to pay. Whereas your competition is going to be standing in line, right? And not only will they be standing in line, but they need to beat each other to see if they can potentially buy the property. Can you imagine if you could do that? If you knew how much you can buy the property for ahead of your competition, and if you could stand in line, can you imagine if you could buy a property 50, 60,000 below ARV? I mean, that would be a home run deal. Imagine if you could do one of those. We've done several of them, friends. Okay, so let me show you how that is done. So this is what I'm gonna show you today. The secrets, we cracked the code, and I'm gonna give it all to you. So this is a case study. So the case study, this is in Mount Prospect. Again, this is what I've told you before. You've got to understand your market, whether it's an A area, V area, understand the schooling, but most importantly, understand your exit strategy. If it's going to be a rental or a flip, this property right now in Mount Prospect is going to become a rental. So Mount Prospect is an A market. So this is what you need to be focusing on, rentals, A and B markets. So this is the property that was in the auctioning platforms. So at this point it's an REO. So the bank took possession of it and the bank sent it to the REOs. So as you can see, the current bid was 198,000. But guess what? We knew how much the bank would sell it for. I believe the bank would sell it for 160 for this property, or 161. So obviously when somebody offered 198, the reserve was met, okay? And this was one day before the auction ended. Imagine, so people continue to overbid for the property. This property is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but the ARV on this is 265, okay? So what I'm gonna show you is just do the numbers very quickly, the formula that I show you. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up the calculator. So remember the formula that I gave you was take the ARV. So I know the ARV on this property is 265. We're gonna multiply for the flip percentage, which is 70%. Minus the rehab. The rehab on this property is going to be about 12, let's say 15,000. So the most you should pay for this property is 170. Now, how do I know the rehab is going to be 15,000? Because I happened to go to the property and one of the back doors happened to be open. So I took a peek, guys. So I knew the rehab was going to be less than 15,000. So the most we should pay for the property is 170. And look at this, people are already paying 198. So right away, they're not gonna be able to do a flip for sure. They might be able to do a rental, but this is a day before the auction is over. So I'm confident this went over 210. So the numbers are not gonna work. But obviously we pulled this property from the back door, but whoever was gonna buy this property, we did a favor for them. We bought it for them because they were gonna totally overpay for the property. And that is the problem when you go to the auctions, to the judicial auctions, or when you go to the online auctioning platforms, you can overpay for the property. So let's go to the next slide. So this is what DealVault told me when we looked at the property. So I looked up the property in DealVault very quickly. So look at this. We knew that the property, the starting bid was 159,870, and that's how much it went back to the bank in January, right? So now, how do you analyze the deal in seconds? Remember, you need to know 3 numbers. ARV, boom. DealVault told me that it was 180. We got an appraisal. The appraisal came out 265. And then the rehab, it's going to be 15,000, a little bit less than 15,000 because we knew the property, but this is based on the square footage and the location, guys. So if you take the square footage of this property, which is 1,100, multiply that by 2 plus 5,000 for unexpected, it's gonna be about 25,000. But in this case, it's gonna be 15,000. So based on the formula that I gave you and that I used the calculator, I came up with 170. DealVault came up with 173, okay? We're gonna use that as a rental, so we could have paid as much as 200,000, but remember that I told you, even if you're doing a rental, pay the flip price so that when you present your deal for funding, you show 2 successful exit strategies. But obviously that's driven by how much you're going to pay for the property. So the less you pay, the more exit strategies you have readily available to you. Okay, so these are the three numbers that you need when analyzing a deal: ARV, rehab, and max offer. That's it. So the next one, boom, we got it on the contract for 160. So check that out. People are already paying 198. It didn't matter. It didn't matter how much people were bidding in the auction, how excited they were getting, that the reserve was met. It did not matter. What we did is we came from the back door and we grabbed the property. So in essence, we pretty much stood in front of line, regardless of what people were doing. And we said, we want that property for the reserve price. And the reserve price was 160,000. Okay, and people were already at 200,000. It did not matter what people were doing because we got it on the contract for, boom, reserve price 161, which is 70,000 less of what anybody could buy it for. Imagine if you could buy properties that way. Do you think you can increase your net worth by $500,000 in a year? Of course. Do you think just one deal a year would be worth it? Of course, the answer is a yes or a yes. Okay. So for these, to be part of these, you need to be vetted. So what does that mean? So first of all, you need to be on a yearly membership of ChicagoDealVault, and right away, we're gonna give you access to that inventory, which I'm gonna show you in a second. And second of all, you need to give us two things: your entity docs, meaning your LLC or your S Corp or your C Corp, or your articles of incorporation, certificate of good standing, and you also need to give us, this is the second piece of document, your line of credit. This is what I mentioned at the beginning. Remember, you're going to go to the asset-based lenders and say, I need a line of credit. So we need those. Why? Because when we give you access to this inventory, there's no way back. If you say, I want to buy this property for 160,000, there's no way back. You've got to follow through. You've got to close on the property. Whatever you do with the property, it doesn't matter. Whether you flip, rent, or wholesale, it doesn't matter. But you've got to follow through. Therefore, once you give us the paperwork, Jacob from Texas, who is our partner, who is the person who gives us the inventory and the ability to pull the properties from the back door, he's going to personally call you, go over your documents, do an interview face-to-face with you via Skype or whatever, because he's in Texas. And if he feels comfortable, then you're good to go and you're going to be able to do exactly what I just showed you. Okay. So if you have not been vetted, please send us an email and we're going to send Jacob a text message just to remind him. We have over 40 people to vet, so he's in a little bit of a backlog, but you will get vetted. And by all means, be patient because this is totally worth it. Imagine, like when you go to the amusement parks, Walt Disney Park, all those amusement parks, imagine when you go to the fast lane and stand no line. You see, that's exactly the same thing. The big difference in real estate is that each time that you get a deal like this, you're going to be having equity of 50, 60, 70,000, which means an increase of your net worth by that much. Okay. So what I'm going to give you today, right now, is our strategy. We're going to put it all together. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that you're ready to learn, that you're ready, putting all your attention into our strategy. Okay. This is so critical, guys. This is how we built $1 million empire in the last 2 years. Okay. Let's get started, friends. So this is top secret classified formula. Brrr, that's how we call it. Okay. This is how you're gonna do it. We're gonna buy it, we're gonna rehab it, we're gonna rent it, we're gonna refinance and repeat. We're gonna do this over and over and over, like a cookie cutter mechanism. Okay. This is the secret. So we're gonna go step by step. So please take a picture of these or a screenshot, or don't worry because we're gonna send the replay for these. Okay, this is how you are going to be able to grow. Why? Because rentals is just the only way for you to receive passive income, build an empire in equity, having people work for you, leveraging from other people's money and other people's time. And that's the true power of real estate, having rentals and hopefully clear and paid off, okay? That's the true wealth building formula. Let's go step by step, case study. So this is a property in Cicero. Many of you went there to this property. And again, this property, we pulled it from the back door. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. So in this case, we purchased it using a hard money lender, okay? Remember, other people's money, even if you have the money, don't use your own money, use other people's money. So we use a hard money lender. A hard money lender is asset-based. They gave us 90% of the loan. So all you need to do is put down 10%. And let me tell you, remember that I asked you to apply for business credit cards? Guess what? Business credit cards are gonna give you a line of credit and also a cash advance line of credit. So what that means is we have a credit card, Bank of America. We have a large line of credit, and out of that, we can take 24,000 cash advance. What that means is I can go to the bank, show my credit card, and get 24,000. It's optional. Obviously, the interest rate is going to be high, 16 or 18%. It's super high, but it's okay. If it's going to be your first deal, that's just a way for you to get the money for your down payment, right? Because you're going to need at least 10% down. So this property, we got it, I believe, for 135. So you need at least 13,000 to buy the property, or 15,000. Let's just keep it simple. So what's the next step? Once we identify the property, let me just show you what happened at the auctioning platforms. Again, this is a bank-owned property that the bank estimated the value to be 242, okay? And at this point, when I looked at the website, the property was technically not available in auction.com, but guess what? We had access to this inventory. All the properties that are going to the auctioning platforms that are bank-owned, REOs, we have access to. Not only do we have access to them, but we know the bank's reserve, meaning we know how much we can buy it for. So look at that. ARV was 242 for this property. Boom, we got it on the contract for 135. So we went the back door, we got it for 135. So if you think about the numbers, we're looking for a spread between the purchase price and the ARV between 75,000 to 100,000. So you saw in the previous slide, ARV for this property is 242. The actual appraisal value came at 237. Okay, just to be precise, 237, we got it for 135. So we have a spread on every single deal between 75 to 100,000 between the purchase price and the ARV, okay? Keep in mind that the purchase price, you also need to do the rehab, right? So all in, your purchase price plus your rehab, all in, you should be at 75% of your ARV. So I'm gonna put these in numbers. So if my ARV is let's say 40, multiply that by 75%. That should be your total purchase price plus rehab. So purchase price is 135, right? We bought it for 135. So I have a leeway of 45,000 for rehab. Guess how much the rehab on this property was? It was 15,000. So obviously we're increasing our net worth big time by quite a lot. So that's just a rule of thumb, guys. Make sure that you write these down. Your spread between the ARV and what you pay for the property should be between 75 to 100,000. When you have that spread, guess what? You're gonna be able to do a flip, you're gonna be able to do a rental, and you're gonna get funded for it. Write that down. In fact, I'm gonna put it on the chat because I wanna make sure that nobody misses these. So, spread should be between 75K to 100K from your purchase price to the ARV, okay? Example, buy for 135K plus, let's say, rehab should be equal to 75% of ARV. I just put that on the chat, guys. I want to make sure that you understand that concept. So typically that equates to between $75,000 to $100,000 spread. Like the property in Mount Prospect, we bought it for 160 and it appraised at 158 or 156. So 160 to 158, again, it's about $100,000 spread. That is the secret. Between 75 to 100,000, if you have that spread between the purchase price and the ARV, your numbers are going to work fantastic for a flip or for a rental. Well, keep in mind, due to the crisis today, you've got to stick to rentals. That's it. Forget about flips. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So again, this property, we pull it from the back door. So boom, right off the bat, we bought it 65,000 below ARV. So no competition, nothing. So the next step is, so right now we got it on the contract, we bought it. So the next step is the rehab. Remember the formula, brr, and it's not because Chicago is cold, it's just because the acronym just matches the strategy. Buy, rehab, rent, refi, repeat. So at this point, you need to come up with your scope of work, okay? So the scope of work, I'm gonna give you the secret, guys. Remember the rule of thumb. The scope of work should be the real scope of work. Take the square footage and multiply that by 2. But you need to itemize those repairs. In this case, you always have to have a cushion. That cushion should be between 5,000 to 10,000 when you factor in the cost. So in this particular case, I sent the contractor out to the property and I said, give me an estimate of labor and material. He told me, Hugo, it's gonna be 8,000 for both. I was like, whoa. So I did go see the property and then he was not taking into account the appliances, right? So appliances are gonna be like $3,000. But then always, I knew that the rehab, it was so light, pretty much paint, maybe flooring, and it needed an AC unit, and maybe a few vanity mirrors and light fixtures, a couple of them. That's about it. So my thinking, my estimate was about 15,000, but guess what, friends? You always need to have a cushion because of the unexpected. And indeed, in this property happened to be a flip 2 years ago. So the flipper did all the bells and whistles, but guess what the flipper didn't do? He deconverted this property. It was a 2-unit. He made it into a single family home, but he did not upgrade the service, the electric service. So the village had us upgrade the service from a 100 amp to a 200 amp. That costed 3,000. I didn't know about that. So therefore, in my mind, just the cosmetic work was going to be 15,000, but I always add a cushion, like 3,000 for the service. Now the AC was about 2,000. So things that are unexpected, I typically add between 5,000 to 10,000, okay? So in this case, I did all my scope of work at the time, and I came up with 29,000. So this is the cool part, friends. Hard money lenders or private money lenders, asset-based lending, they're gonna give you up to 90% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab. You heard me right, 100% of the rehab. I told them my rehab is gonna be 30,000. So what they typically do, if you use a hard money lender, they have what's called asset risk management. So they have a department, asset risk management. They're gonna send an inspector before you do the rehab and after you do the rehab, because they wanna make sure that whatever you're writing on your scope of work matches the condition of the property, right? So they just wanna make sure that you don't go like off tangent, right? And ask for, let's say 100,000 on a rehab that is gonna be 30, 40,000. Does that make sense? They just wanna control the risk. So yeah, I presented these. The guy went to the property, no problem. He said, yeah, 30,000. They're not gonna need a nickel and penny your numbers. So 30,000. So this is the trick, guys. When they approve the scope of work, which over 95% of the times they do, they will not give you the money up front because they want to prevent you from running away, doing nothing, spending that money on something else, on a vacation or something else, right? They will not give you a single penny. They will approve the 29,000 in this case, but they didn't give us any money. So the question is, where do you get the money from to do the rehab? And the answer is easy: business credit cards. The second basic point that I mentioned earlier, business credit cards are a lifesaver. Why? Because we pay with business credit cards for labor and material. Not only do we leverage from other people's money, but also it's a safety mechanism. If the contractor, and this has happened to us in another property, we paid them with a credit card, like a down payment for, it was an HVAC. They needed to do the duct work, and guess what? They did not complete the work. So we had to hire somebody else to complete the work, which ended up costing a lot of money. So guess what we did? We said, either you pay for the difference or we are gonna need our money back. We never heard back from the contractor, so we called the bank and we claimed that as a fraudulent charge. So we were able to get that money back. It was maybe 2,000 or so, but we got that money back. So it works as a safety mechanism as well, okay? For contractors just running away, you can claim that money back from the bank, okay? And also, if you don't have the money to do the rehab, you use the credit cards. You should always use credit cards also when you buy materials, because you can get cash back. Home Depot, we buy most of it from Home Depot. Go to the Home Depot/rebate, put in the receipt number, and you will get, they have a cashback on everything that you buy. So that's just an FYI. We usually get hundreds of dollars from Home Depot in just the rebate cashback. Check their website. Use Home Depot. We also use Menards, but primarily Home Depot. But that is just a tip of advice. We fund the rehab using credit cards as much as possible. There are going to be some contractors that obviously they don't take credit cards. So we just need to use cash advance. If we don't have the money, we again go to the credit card and get cash advance, and then just pay cash to the contractor, especially if it's a dollar amount under $1,000. But let's say we don't have that money, we go to the bank, get a cash advance on the credit card. It's going to be high interest rate, but it's just a temporary loan. Why? Because once we finish the rehab, we call the bank and say, hey, you know, I'm done with the rehab, go check it out. They sent an inspector, they go through everything in the property, and if everything looks okay, they will just release the rehab money, $29,000. So they released $29,000 to us once we completed the work. Let me go to the next step. So let's just look at the numbers again. So purchase price, $135, you saw the contract. Rehab was $12,000, including appliances, all in $147, okay? So far, so good, perfect. Let's go to the next screen. This was the condition when we bought the property. So this is the contractor going out to the property, taking pictures of the inside of the property. As you can see, it needs just paint, some flooring. Look at the bathrooms. I mean, we didn't even do anything to the bathrooms, just the vanity, the mirror, I think was missing in both bathrooms. But as you can see, everything is in intact shape. And this is what we did. This is the after the rehab. All we did was, look at the kitchen. We just painted the kitchen cabinets. The countertop, the granite countertop was as is. We didn't do anything. Obviously, we just cleaned it, painted the kitchen cabinets, painted the entire house, and those are new appliances. And the flooring, it's just the same flooring. We just cleaned the floor. So this is what you guys need to focus on. Light to medium rehabs. Please don't take on gut rehabs. Forget it. Just remove them from your dictionary. no-go rehabs. They're too risky. When you get into go rehabs, you need to pull permits for plumbing, electric, roof, windows, you name it, right? Also, the inspections are gonna be more stringent when you're touching all the systems in the house, HVAC as well. You need to get a permit. Try to do light to medium rehabs or cosmetic rehabs. Why? First of all, risk is less, expenses is less, and time is a lot less. So you're gonna be in and out of the projects very, very fast. Let me go to the next page. Guys, this is just paint. As you can see, the flipper 2 years ago did the crown molding. That is a flipping work. You don't do this type of work for a rental. All that crown molding, you know, half the wall and in the ceiling, look at the ceiling. It has crown molding. That is way expensive. You don't do that for rentals. You can do that for flips. But remember, right now, no flips. Stay away from flips, okay? Let me go to the next page. Okay, the bathrooms, we didn't do anything to the bathrooms. We just put the mirrors. And I think the lights were missing. Something was missing that I can't remember, but it was just light. The tile, everything was as is. This is just paint. And in the closets, I remember we did the racks, the rod, for people to, you know, organize their clothes, everything, we did that. So let's just look at the numbers again. So right now, we are doing the buy, rehab, and rent. Remember the formula. So the rent, we rented it for $1,770. The principal, interest, tax, and insurance, $1,350, and this is the positive cash flow, $14,420. And this is the cool thing, guys. We bought this property I was third week of December. The rehab was done by mid-January. It took us like 3 weeks for the rehab because of the holidays. Contractors were not available, end of the year, whatever. We got it rented on the third week of January. So by February 1st, we had a tenant already in there. That's what I'm talking about that you need to focus on. In and out, quick. Because think about this. If you take a go rehab, it's not gonna take you 1, 2, 3 months. It's gonna take you 6 to 8 months. And especially right now, flips are gonna sit. But even if it's a rental, if you spend 4 or 5 months just on rehabbing, your risk goes really high. With your carrying cost, holding expenses are gonna squeeze your profits. Please stick to in and out projects, because let me tell you this is so true. If you take, unless you have a construction company, please, I see this all the time. Investors are so proud of doing like great rehabbing jobs, but think about this. If rehabbing was the way to make money, wouldn't you think that contractors would be rich and wealthy today? Contractors are the ones who are struggling the most, in fact, right now. So just understand that concept. In real estate, the money is not in rehabbing. The money is in doing in and out transactions, as many small transactions as possible. The minute you start putting your contractor hat and you're rehabbing and you start changing the layout of the property, that's where things get into trouble, right? You need to be in and out, okay? Even if you have, let me tell you, I know some big time flippers who have a construction background. They do construction, or they did construction for living. They used to do flips, big flips. Guess what? They learned their lesson. They are downsizing to small, simple flips, and now they're switching to rentals. You see that? Let's learn from their mistakes. And mind you, these are guys who have a construction background. They're staying away from the big rehabs. You know, adding new floors, adding extensions, all of that is nonsense. That's not where the money is. In fact, that's where you can lose your money, okay? Let's continue with the formula, with the secret. Okay, so this is leveraging from other people's money, other people's time. Renters, when you rent, guess what? You could be sitting like I am right now in Mexico, hanging out with my family, enjoying family quality time, while tenants are still running on the treadmill on our behalf. They're working, they're paying for the rent, and we're enjoying positive cash flow on every single rental. So that's what's called leveraging from other people's time. And that's what you need to do, okay? Leveraging from other people's time, okay? I know there've been some questions on the chat. We're gonna address those in just a second. I wanna make sure that I go through the secret formula without interruptions. And then we're gonna take a mental break and then I'll answer your questions. Let's continue with the secret sauce. So now the refinance, because remember, we purchased the property using asset-based lenders, and those guys are gonna charge you an arm and a leg. They're gonna charge you starting at 12%, all the way I've seen to 17%, guys. Since we're seasoned investors, we pay about 9.25. But for most people, they're gonna charge at least 12%. So what you have to do is, once you bought the property, rehab the property, rented the property, now you need to refinance the property. But this is the good news. What does that mean by refinance? What it means is that you have a loan, short-term loan, high interest rate, you've got to get rid of that. You have to refinance, meaning put that loan into a longer term loan, lower interest rate. That's what it means. And the great news is that many hard money lenders are adding a new product into their product lines of rental loans. So guess what? You don't even need to go out and find a conventional lender. Our conventional preferred lender is Homebridge. You don't even need to do that. Now, hard money lenders are turning your rehab loan into a rental loan. That is just freaking amazing, guys. Did you get what I said? Hard money lenders are adding rental loans into their services. So they give you a rehab loan. Once you rent the property, rehab, rent it, then you call them and say, well, now I want to rehab, I want to refinance, put my rehab loan into a rental loan. They would just do that for you. And so the way they do it is, when they do an appraisal on the property, they're going to give you two ARVs. They're going to give you the as-is ARV and the after repair value. Okay, so with the purpose of when you do the refi, they know the ARV after all the repairs have been made, and they can easily turn the rehab loan into a rental loan, and you don't need to pay for two appraisals. You don't need to pay for two closing costs. It's just very streamlined. So keep that in mind. So let's look at the numbers here. So all in, purchase 135, rehab 12, all in 147. ARV came at 225. So before I move on, remember the spread that I told you from the purchase price to the ARV. What did I say it should be? Between 75 to 100. So do the math. 225 minus 135. What is that? 90,000, right? So that fits into our rule. So if I'm looking at a property, the first thing that I need to know is what's ARV on the property. If the ARV I know it's 230, how much am I paying for the property? 130? Boom, it meets the 75 to $100,000 spread. That's simple. That's how you can analyze a deal in less than 5 seconds. So now the refinance, we're gonna pay the 147, right? So we're gonna tap into only 66% of the ARV, which leaves us with equity of $77,000 on this deal. Okay, and it gets better, guys. Not only did we increase our net worth by 77,000, we're cash flowing how much? Like 300, 400. But the most important thing is that we have very, very little money on the deal. Why is that? Because remember, how much was the down payment for this deal? 10% of 135, 13,500 plus closing costs and all that. Let's say 15,000. How much did we request on the scope of work for the rehab? Remember? 30,000. So we got 30,000. Our rehab was 12,000. Let's keep it at 15,000. So how much money do we have left? We have 15,000 left, okay? Therefore, we use that money left, the 15,000, to offset the down payment, which means that you have zero money on the deal. Does that make sense? When you add enough cushion in your rehab, when you get that money after you've done the rehab, you can offset your down payment. Does that make sense? Whether you use the down payment from cash advance on your credit cards, you pay that off. Does that make sense? That is the secret formula to have very little money down on the deal, yet increase your net worth, plus have positive cash flow. So the question is, what's my return on investment on this deal? The answer is infinite, infinite. Why? Because you have zero money stuck on the deal, you increase your net worth by $70,000, plus your cash flow is positive every month, at least $300 a month. So it's infinite. This is the power, guys. And all you need to do is meaning buy, rehab, rent, refi, and repeat. You just need to repeat. So how do we repeat this? By pulling properties from the back door, right? Properties that are owned by banks, we can pull them from the back door. We know the spread, and very simple. So let's go to the next slide before I give you a mental break. Okay, so before we do the live deal, I'm gonna answer questions. I'm gonna give you a mental break. So please stretch, have a drink, stand up, and then I'm gonna answer the questions, okay? So the first question was, that was a great tip. Didn't think about paying contractors via credit card. Yeah, by all means, try to pay contractors with a credit card. And then Hugo, who did you use to paint the kitchen cabinets? Okay, so we have our contractors on ChicagoDealVault. So look on their contractors. We have some of our contractors. So they charge us, if I'm not mistaken, like $3,500 to paint the entire house plus the kitchen cabinets. To paint the kitchen cabinets, you're gonna spend about $900. To paint that house, it was about $2,500. But because it had crown molding, that is why it was a little bit high. But typically, a house that is 1,500 square feet, you're gonna spend like $2,500 just on paint. And then another question is, do you have a list of private money lenders? Yeah, we have them in DealVault. So I'm gonna show that in the demo. Another question is, how and where do you account for your current cost? So current costs are about 10%. Okay. 10% of the entire equation. So for instance, if you buy a property for 100,000, your current cost is going to be about 10% of that. That includes if you use a broker for the transaction. Otherwise, your closing costs are going to be 2%. Your current cost depends on how long you sit on the property, on the rehab or the flip. So the current cost could vary, but as a rule of thumb, 10%. Current holding cost, 10%. So out of 100,000, 10% is going to be your current cost, which is the cost of money, cost of borrowing money. So guys, before we get into the live demo, I'm going to give you a mental break. Please take a 2-minute break, stretch, send your contact info via the chat. Let's take a break. Okay, guys. So far, how's everyone feeling? There's another question. So does the 10% carrying cost include closing costs as well? Yes, 10% includes closing costs for sure. Did you say that you have contractors in DealVault? Yeah, we do, for sure. So anything that you need, just please send us an email and then we'll make our resources available to you. Okay, so far, how are you guys feeling? We've been online for for 2 hours, for the past 2 hours. How are you guys feeling so far? We have over 45 people on the line. Good, perfect. I see the thumbs up, perfect. Great, perfect. So I wanna make sure that you have it all in one go. Take advantage of this downtime because right now, a lot of people are panicking due to the crisis. These guys is a huge opportunity for all of us because there's gonna be a huge wave of foreclosures coming down. There's gonna be a lot of extremely motivated sellers who unfortunately will lose their jobs. So this is a huge opportunity for us to get into rentals. Right now, unfortunately, there's a freeze on lending for the next, I would say, 30 days. So I would say by May, things are gonna start to get back to normal. Because let me tell you, many people question, how long will this last? Any virus will skyrocket in the winter, but in the summer, typically, viruses don't like the heat. So that's a good thing. That is why we're in Mexico. The heat is awesome. There are very few cases. So these crises can last from 2 months all the way to a year, but the real answer is we don't know, right? And the impact of this is huge economically, but this represents a huge opportunity for all of us investors to stick to rentals, okay? And then look at the numbers, be conservative on the sweet spot to buy, and that's what I'm gonna show you next. We're gonna do a live demo and how we analyze deals. We're gonna take the A through Z, and I'm gonna show you how we're gonna find some great deals. So what we're gonna do next is find the great rental market, and then find the great deal, analyze it in seconds, secure funding, and then we'll try to find some cash buyers for a wholesale, okay? So is everyone ready? Are we ready to go? Perfect. Okay, so everyone, perfect. Let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna open up ChicagoDealVault. And I wanna make sure that everyone has ChicagoDealVault, and then if you don't, at the end, we're gonna give you access to it. So let me log on to the system. Okay. Okay, so this is ChicagoDealVault. So I'm gonna take you how the pros do it, okay? Nothing less, nothing more. The first thing that you need to do is stop doing driving for dollars and then know your areas like the back of your hand. So what you typically need to do is pick a spot where you live and where you work, right? So do a 10-mile radius from those two locations. And those are the areas that you need to focus on. Because anytime that you start going beyond 15 miles away from where you live or where you work, guess what? Any rehab, any flip, any rental is gonna become unmanageable because of the distance, right? To see contractors, to see tenants, to oversee the project, it just becomes just not feasible, okay? So let me give you an example. We live in Schiller Park. We have a rental, a 4-flat in Elgin. Ask me how many times I've been to Elgin in the last year. If I say one, it's a lot. I just don't go there because it's over 15 miles away from where we live. Thankfully, we have great contractors and a property management that takes care of it. But again, guys, as a tip of advice, stay within a 15-mile radius from where you live. And to find that out, there's called what's Google Maps Radio. Yeah, this is a really good tool. I'm gonna send that to however many miles you want. So let me pull that up. So I'm gonna send this link to everyone via the chat. So let me go to everyone. and send this link. And I'm gonna quickly show you how it works. Okay, I send that to everyone. So just put in an address, 4740 North Cumberland Avenue, Chicago. Okay, so I'm gonna do 10-mile radius, new circle. Boom. That's it. That's simple. I can maximize this. So, and then I can zoom in, right? So all I did is type in an address, and then I said, give me a 10-mile radius. Boom. These are the areas, guys, that you need to know like the back of your hand, okay? But keep in mind, you have 3 exit strategies. Wholesale, you should always do wholesaling, but you need to keep in mind what you need to do now. Flipping or rehabbing for rentals. Right now, don't do flips, please. Hold off on your flips, stick to rentals. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna find the best rental markets. So when you draw the line, you're gonna be looking for these cities like Elk Grove, Mount Prospect, Des Plaines, Skokie, Evanston, and so forth. Look them up in DealVault and find out if they are rental markets, okay? So you focus on a manageable area radius, because keep in mind, behind your backyard, there are great, amazing deals. So you don't need to go very far. Stay to where you live or where you work, or just in that belt, you know, of commute between where you work and where you live. Because let's say you live in, let's say by O'Hare, but you work in Chambord. Streamwood is right next to Chambord. Streamwood is a great rental market. If you live by O'Hare, Des Plaines is a great rental market. It's an A area where yet the prices are still under 200,000 and rents are like about 2,000. So Des Plaines is a great rental market. Franklin Park is a great rental market. Elk Grove Village is great. So you need to understand Elmwood Park. It's a great. Norwich. This is all great. But Berkeley, you see, Berkeley is within our range. Berkeley is is the top #1 rental market. Bellwood, it's awesome. Bellwood, you know, just the village is very strict, but otherwise Bellwood is great. Maywood has pockets. It's a C market. Remember, Maywood and Melrose Park, it's sort of like a C market. It has pockets. So remember, right now, C markets are the ones suffering the most because are, labor-intensive markets where they may face some layoffs. So keep that in mind. River Grove, Franklin Park, Forest Park, Oak Park, these are all great areas. Oak Park is an A area. This is good for flips. Wooddale, Bensonville, these are great rental B markets, strong markets. Schiller Park, Norwich, Norwood Heights, those are A markets. Des Plaines is an A market. Mount Prospect is an A market. Elk Grove Village is an A market, B plus. So this is how you need to know your markets like the back of your hand. So how do you do that? I'm gonna go back to DealVault. And since we're gonna be focusing on rentals, just click on area reports. And then this is how the pros do it. So the first thing that we're gonna do is either once you draw the map, let's say that you wanna know something about Elk Grove Village because you have no clue and it's nearby. Just type in Elk and boom, Elk Grove Village. So I'm gonna show you the things that you need to know. So if you're thinking, open up the report, you need to have a clear mindset, flip or rental. Right now, rental. So let me make this a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna show you how quickly you are gonna be analyzing these reports. So what I typically do is I look at the livability score. That gives me right here, 78%. Anything that is over 65, it's a great market right now. This livability score, look that up. Anything over 65 is great. So you're looking at B, A markets. Anything below 65, you need to be very cautious because of the crisis right now. You're gonna have uncollectible tenants and you're gonna have obviously homeowners defaulting on their mortgage. If you stay with livability scores below 65, let me show you an example of that. For instance, Riverdale. Riverdale search. Let me give you an example of this. This is it's a challenging area. So livability score is 48. Look at all of these, you know, schools, infrastructure, crime, all of these, you know, affect the type of tenant or potential buyer that you face with. So please, right now, these areas are being hit the hardest. So keep that in mind. Anything over 65. The next thing that I need to know, is this a flipping market or rental market, right? Because I'm looking at rental markets right now. So what I like to do is I scroll down to the summary, and then we give you the recommendation right here. Cash flow and flip. That's good. I could do both in this market, right? And this is a B area, B plus area. So this is good. You can obviously look at the details up above. One of the things that I like to see is growth, population growth. Whether people are moving into the area or migrating away from the area. -4, it's not such a big deal, but ideally I would like to see positive. Like for instance, Bolingbrook, over 30%. Okay? Excuse me guys for a second. ¿Papá? Ah, estoy aquí en Mac dando mi presentación. Sí, media hora más. No, en Mac, en Valle Dorado. Media hora más, media hora. Gracias. Okay, sorry guys. My family checking on me. How much longer? Anyway, so I like to look at, you know, the growth, population growth. Now let's look at the numbers. We're going to be focusing on cash flow. Therefore, the second number that you need to look at is how much are you going to buy the property for? So sweet spot to buy, and then this is divided by multi-unit, condos, or single-family homes. We like to stick to single-family homes. So what's the sweet spot to buy? 270. So it's kind of on the high end, Elk Grove, 270, because ideally the sweet spot, as I mentioned before, you want to stay below 150 for rentals. For flips, yeah, 250, below 250, but rentals, please stick to less than 150 purchase price, because that's where you're going to get the most for your buck. Okay, but that's just something to keep in mind. Then go down to the rental analysis. In here, you want to know, you know, the overall rental market. Like a 2-bedroom, you'll collect 1265, a 3-bedroom, 1560. So the rental market conclusion is right here. Rents are high, and they tend to stay in the market for about a month. This is how you can analyze just quickly one area. But the way that I like to do it is, this is how I do it, and the pros do it. We're going to focus today on rentals, right? So I just say, give me either A or B top rental market. So I'm going to focus on B. I'm going to stay away from C and D right now because they're hit the hardest. So B, give me the cash flow, which means rental, the top rental markets, and then search, boom. And then they're right here. Allstate, Berkeley, Bridgeview, Brookfield, Berkman, Elgin, Elmwood Park. These are top B rental markets. These are the markets where you need to focus on. And this is what I usually like to do. I look at the sweet spot to buy. You see this column right here? So I sort by these. So I sort by the sweet spot to buy. You see all of these? 147, 149, 149, 157, 160, 165. So these are the markets that I like to look at, and look at these. Something that is very critical, look at the rent, this column. So something that obviously catches my eye is Allstate and Berkeley. Why? Because look at the purchase price for a 3-bedroom is $149 for Allstate, and the rent is $1,800. Berkeley, rents $2,100, purchase price $157. These are top rental markets, top 2 rental markets, because purchase price is low, yet rents are off the roof. And then you go to the next page and you start going through every single one of them. So far we found like 20 great rental markets below 200,000. So these are the markets that you need to focus on today. Berkman, Evergreen Park, Oak Forest, Franklin Park, Melrose Park, Bridgeview, because the rents, and then look at the rents, right? So ideally, let's look at these, Melrose Park. The rents are low, sort of, 1,200, and then yet you can pay up to 180. So you shouldn't disregard these completely, but be cautious about these, right? The rents might not be as high in Melrose Park, but apply the rule of 1%. So think about this. I'm gonna pay 180,000 for a property. How much should I collect for rent? 1% of that, which is 1,800. And the rents are 1,200. My numbers are not gonna work, right? So this is something that you need to keep in mind. That you're, like for instance, let's look at this. Bridgeview. I'm gonna pay 186 for a property. How much should I collect? No less than 1,800. And rents are, sure enough, 1,800. So this is a good, safe rental market, Bridgeview, right now. Does that make sense? So think about the 1% rule of thumb. Whatever you pay for it, you need to collect at least 1%, so the numbers make sense. So for instance, I'm gonna pick Bridgeview right now that we're talking about that. And then let's quickly analyze Bridgeview. What's the livability score of Bridgeview? Some factors we highlight that may affect your property values, train tracks, highways, and so forth. 72. So it's pretty good, right? Then I just scroll down to the population growth. What is it like? It's positive. You see, it's almost 8%. That's good. Now here, what's cash flow? It's a rental market. What's my sweet spot to buy? I already told you, 180, 186, right here. And then how are the rents? You already know. For a 3-bedroom, you can collect up to 1,815. So this is a great rental market. So now, having said that, let's find some great deals. Bridgeview, and many others that we saw, right? So the next step is, once you understand your market, is accessing great deals. So as I mentioned or explained to you earlier before, we're gonna be targeting off-market deals. That's it. You have probates, that's a great lead pipe. And then the pre-foreclosure, the foreclosure process. These are the 3 stages where you can intercept the property. Either at the pre-foreclosure, upcoming auctions, these are the most motivated. In 3 months, they're gonna lose their property, or banked-on properties. We have vacant properties, but these are my main 3 favorites, especially upcoming auctions. And then if you're a yearly member, you're gonna see this on your DealVault, shadow inventory, right? These are the properties, banked-on properties, where we can pull from the back door. And in fact, I'm just curious to see how many we got this week. Whoa, look how many we got this week. 1,200, 1,237 to be precise. Every week we get about 1,000. We're beginning last week, it was 1,000. The previous week, 1,200. This week, 1,200. So these deals, you need to act pretty fast. You have like 3 days to do your due diligence, meaning go out to the property, make sure it's vacant. Because if it's occupied, you won't get funding. It's got to be vacant for appraiser to go in. And then make sure the condition is reasonable. So now what I like to do is, I like to filter by county. So I'm going to put Cook County and then search. Now we got 356. Now what I like to do is I click on View Map, because I want to see them on the map, right? There are way too many properties. If I go one by one looking at the address, it's going to take me forever. Whereas if I look at them on the map, it's a lot easier, right? Because I know where the good markets are on the map. So I just focus like laser beam. If I see a property, let's say in Elmwood Park, and I live in Schiller Park, it's so close, right? So right away, I'm going to go after that property. So look at this. I mean, these are all great REOs. So banked-on properties, nobody bought them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly zoom in. So here, I'm going to zoom in. I want to make sure that everyone is muted. I need to move my screens to make sure that we don't have any background noise. Okay, so right here, I'm going to zoom in into, I want to find just good, I go by the great markets. Okay, guys, right here, Bridgeview. I think that's the report we were looking at, right? Was it Bridgeview or Broadview? Oh, Bridgeview, yeah. So right here, I see, oh, I lost it. Oh, Bridgeview, right here. I see 2 properties right here, Bridgeview. Yeah, this is in Bridgeview. Purchase price, 212. That's kind of high. Remember, the sweet spot was 186. What about this one? 118, guys. Whoa. This catches my eye. 118. What did I say earlier? Sweet spot to buy should be less than 150,000. The sweet spot to buy in Bridgeview, if I go back to Bridgeview, the sweet spot to buy is less than 186 for a single family home. And we found one property that is bank-on property that we can buy it for 118. This catches my eye. So remember, the next thing that I want to know, right now, I like it so far because I like the price. My next thing that I need to know, ARV. And my spread should be, remember, my spread should be pretty high, 75 to 100,000. So I'm going to click on view details. What type of property? 100. So look at the property. It's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath, 1,000 square feet. Bridgeview, it says occupied, 118. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I like to see the property. We need to know the ARV, but before we look at the ARV, zoom in, because location, location, location. You don't want to be in a busy street next to the river, cemetery, airport, train tracks, and so forth. So this looks okay, and then I like to do the street view. Whoa, I see a big industrial place right there. So that could be a big factor, right? For marketability purposes, many people want, for a flip, it's a big issue, right? For a rental, it might not be if across the street, you have a big industrial center, okay? So that's something to keep in mind. So what I can do is I can just leave it open and let me just go back to the map, okay? So we're just gonna leave that on hold. And then Berkman. Berkman is another great area. Let me see, 435, that's quite high. So let me see, let me minimize this. We're gonna go towards the north side, Forest Park, Oak Park. This is so good, Melrose Park, Berkeley. So these are all good areas. Okay, another one that catches my eye, Hillside. Hillside is a great rental market for 142, 111, Hillside. I like this. Hillside is a great rental market. Okay, so 111, let's look at this very quickly. Let's analyze this very fast. So it's 111, let me look at location. It looks very close to the highway. Okay, that's something to keep in mind. So I'm gonna do the street view. Okay, so yeah, the highway is somewhere over here behind those bushes. So location is not that ideal, but I can go to the next one, right? So we're gonna put them on hold and then I'm gonna show you, let's just find the gray one, okay? I don't wanna settle for just okay, I wanna settle for a great deal. So this is 142. Let me open this up. 142, okay, so this looks better location-wise. Yeah, location-wise, this is way better, okay, Hillside. So the next thing that you need to know is the ARV. So 142 ARV could hit 200,000. Okay, so in this case, this is how it works, guys. All in, you need to be at 75%. So if the ARV is 200,000, my purchase price and rehab should not exceed 75% of the ARV, which is 150. So if I'm paying 142, doesn't give me any room for rehab, right? Unless it's very cosmetic, then it would be a good deal. Because right now, you look at the ARV, the most should be like 200,000, but we need 25% equity on this deal. So this is good, but not ideal. I'm gonna move on to the next one. Let me zoom in a bit. Bellwood. Bellwood is a great rental market. 100, I like this. So right away, let's open this. 100, location. Let me do the street map. Location. I think location is good because we can see it's in a residential area. As you can see, it's not in a busy street, nowhere near rivers or anything. Purchase price 100, ARV, this is a little better. We have a lot more room. 166. It's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. I like this one. Bellwood is a strong rental market. You want to favor a 3-bedroom over a 2-bedroom, ideally brick. This is 100. ARV could be as high as 166. So this gives you enough meat in the bone to do, let's say, a rental. And then just look at these guys. Purchase price is 100. This is non-negotiable. What you see is what you need to pay for, because this is coming from the bank. This is the bank's reserve. Look at the flip offer and the rental offer. So we are at 100,000. We're in between the flip and the rental, but that is with the assumption we're going to put in about 20,000 or so in rehab, given the location and the square footage of about 1,000 square feet. Does that make sense? So right off the bat, in seconds, less than 10 seconds, we can analyze this deal. And it's not like I'm a math guru, guys. I'm just looking at the numbers in front of me. So this is what you need to look at: the purchase price and the spread. So the spread, we can have a spread of about 65, 70,000, which is good. That's in the ballpark of what I said. 75, ideal, up to 100 or more, obviously. But the key factor here is going to be the rehab. If the rehab is light to medium, this is a home run deal, guys. Because if we're going to put in, let's say, 15,000, that gives us a lot more room to have a spread of at least 75,000 if the rehab is light. And then we're going to be able to do both, a flip and a rental on this Bellwood property. And Bellwood is a hot market. We have like 2-3 properties in Bellwood. They rent very fast. So let's go ahead and analyze this deal. Already we analyzed the deal. I like it. Just for sakes, I want to see what the rent is for this property. Just click on the rent calculator. The rent is $14.75. Remember the rule of thumb, what I told you? 1% rule of thumb. Let's say we pay 100,000 and the rehab is, let's say 20,000, 120. So therefore, 1% of 120 should be 1,200. Guess what the rent is going to be? $14.75. Right off the bat, all in 120, and then the rent is $14.75. So let me pull up the calculator. So purchase price is 100. This is just my assumption. So 100 plus 20, so 120 all in. So that means that my rent, 1%, I should collect 1,200 at least. We're collecting 14.75. So the difference is 275. Right off the bat, I know we're going to cash flow no less than 250 on this deal. And then this is a hot market. Although the village in Bellwood, it's a little bit stringent, okay? So they're going to ask you for permits of plumbing, electric, pre-sale inspection. And also sometimes they ask you for blueprint, depending on the rehab scope, right? So what's the next step? So the next step is, since we have all of these, I'm going to pull some comps, because remember what I told you, to get funding for these, you need to present the deal for funding. So lenders are going to be looking for the ARV, accurate ARV with the comps. They're going to be looking for a successful flip and exit strategy, and they're going to be looking for the DCR of over 125. So the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on comps. I'm going to pull some comps. All you need to do is just click on search, okay? You don't need to change anything. We're pre-defaulting everything. So right now we're going to go 6 months back, 1 mile radius, plus minus 20% square footage. So that is why we're looking at 800 square feet all the way to 1,250. That's a 20% plus minus from the subject property, which is about 1,000 square feet. We're going back 6 months, 1 mile radius. Boom. We got a lot of properties, guys. So here's the thing. What we need to do is we need to remove the ones that are not comps, meaning the properties that are not rehab. So you see these properties that close for 89, 85. These properties, I'm sure, are a go rehab, right? I'm just going to prove that. I'm going to open this up, and then, yeah, these are obviously not rehab, right? So these are not comps. So these are the outliers that they are outdated. They need a lot of work. So what you want to do is you need to remove these from your comps. So all you need to do is uncheck these, uncheck the outliers. As you can see, most of the properties fall between the 160 to 190 or so. So even the 160, let me take a look at that and see if it's a comp, because you want to look for properties that have been rehabbed. So the 160 looks pretty nice. It's virtually staged, but it looks sort of nice, okay? So I'm gonna leave that as a comp. So now, DealVault is gonna automatically compute your ARV. So the ARV is gonna be 176, that's it. So look at these guys, we have a spread of $75,000 from the purchase to the ARV. That's the secret, or that is the requirement for a great home run deal. You need a spread of 75 to 100,000 and more from the purchase price to the ARV. So right now, right off the bat, I like this property. And here on the map, we see all the comps. So now the next thing that you need to do to present this deal to get funded is the exit strategy. We're gonna do a flip or a rental successfully. So very simple. So given these numbers, check this out. ARV 176. Rehab, we haven't seen the property from the inside, but based on the square footage, based on the location, assuming it's a light to medium rehab, we're gonna be spending about 20,000 on this deal. Therefore, the most we should pay for the property for a flip should be 102. Guess how much we're gonna be paying? 100. So this property fits the criteria, obviously for a rental, but we'll have a successful exit flip strategy, which obviously we're not gonna take that exit strategy anytime soon due to the coronavirus crisis, right? But at least you wanna pay flip price for your rental. You don't wanna pay more than 102, which you want. You're gonna pay 100. I love this property right off the bat. So let me just quickly run the numbers in the calculators so that we generate a report that we're gonna present to the private money lender, hard money lender. So this is how the pros do it. So we tell you how much the rent is gonna be, utilities. The good news is when you rent this property, the tenant for a single family home is gonna pay for everything. Gas, electric, water. So you don't need to worry about that. Maintenance, and these are repairs that you're gonna need to pay. So I usually put 75. Management fee, we pay $50 to have this managed. Insurance is about 50. Taxes, I'm gonna look them up. So for the taxes, I'm gonna click on the owner loan tab. And then the taxes on this property are $38.60, okay? $38.60, we're gonna divide these by 12. So $38.60, I lost my calculator. So let me pull up my calculator. It should be somewhere. Okay, 38.60 by 12. It's gonna be like 350, guys, just to keep it simple. So I'm gonna go to my rental calculator. So taxes, and these are low, guys. So they might have a homeowner's exemption or so, but 350 for now. Property cost, we're gonna pay 100 for these. 100, we get enough zeros. Okay, 100. I need to mute everyone just to make sure we're in background noise. And then rehab, we're gonna leave it as is, 17,000, closing cost, 2%. Now down payment, we're gonna put 10% down payment. Harmony lender is gonna give us 90%. Term, for now, we're gonna leave it because we're gonna flip this into, make it into a rental. So we're gonna leave it as a long term. And then the rate, right now, the rates are at the lowest historically. We're gonna leave it at maybe, to be conservative, 6. Calculate. So look at this. So the net cash flow on this deal is gonna be 400. Now let's do the flip. ARV 176, you don't even need to do anything. Once you complete the ARV up front, we're gonna put it into the flip calculator. The rehab for a flip is gonna be a little bit higher because the finishes are gonna need to be higher. So we're gonna do 25,000. Holding time, 4 months, sales cost. These are all preset expenses you don't need to touch. Utilities, you will pay for water, gas, electric when you do the rehab. So I'm gonna put about 120 a month. Insurance 60, taxes 350. And then cost, we're paying 100,000, 1, 2, 3. Closing cost 2%, and then we're putting 10% down. 30-year interest rate 6%, points, 2 points, fine. Okay, so the net profit will be 40,000. Remember, I told you, you need to make at least 20% profit. if you do want to do a flip. So what's 20% of 176? That's 30K. And you're making 40,000. So this obviously qualifies for a flip. So now we are ready, guys. Now, how can we present this deal to get funding? Very easy. All you need to do is click on this button that says Generate Report. What it's going to do is, it's going to generate the report that you need to present to the hard money lender, private money lender. So this is going to have all the information that they require. This is the subject property, right? 3-bedroom, 1-bath. And then this is the analysis for both the flip and the rental. So on the flip, we're going to make 40,000. So you tell them ARV is 176. We're buying it for 100. We're putting 25,000, and then we're going to make 40,000 on the flip. They want to see that. Now, the next number they want to see is cash flow. How much are you going to cash flow? 400. And this is the detail of the entire rental analysis. And the third number they want to see is the DCR ratio. This needs to be over 125 or 13. It's 174. Once they look at this report, what I just showed you, boom, thumbs up. They're going to give you the money. And then remember, we need to tell them about the ARV, how we came up with the ARV. All you need to do is scroll down. We give them the properties side by side. These are the comps. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, how long they stayed in the market. Not only that, we're gonna show them the minimum, the max, the average, and then the side-by-side comparison. Boom. Subject property is on the left, and then the comps, boom, side-by-side. Square footage, number of bedrooms, condition, walkout basement, and so forth. Every single side-by-side comp. And then we give them the comps on the map. And finally, we tell them these are the taxes and this is the sales history. Boom, that's it. So how many of you can do these, guys? Just with a click of a button. How many of you would like to do this? So simple. This is how you present the deal to get funded. And obviously, we need to make an offer on this deal, but since this is part of the shadow inventory, all we need to do is just once you get vetted, you're gonna have this inquiry button enabled. So I'm gonna ask Jacob, is this available? Available, and that's it. So when I send this message, it goes to Jacob directly, and he's gonna tell me, yeah, this is available, we can pull it, and we'll pull it for 100,000. And boom, next thing you know is in about a week and a half or so, you get the sales contract. But obviously, once you decide to move forward with the deal, you've got to wire the earnest money, which is about 5%. So about $5,000 that you will need to wire as soon as we pull this, which is in the next day or so. You need to wire that money, and that's it. And then you schedule closing. And obviously, when you get funding, you need to have access to the property, right? Because they need to do an appraisal on the property. So if the property is vacant, then you can have an appraiser go out to the property. But obviously, you need to have access to it. You need to have a lockbox on the property, get somebody out. Once, obviously, you sign the performance agreement to pull the property, you do need to have access to the property. Obviously, before that, you need to check it out, make sure that it's not occupied, because if it's occupied, you will not get funding. Obviously, there are some lenders, Home Lending is an example. They do what's called a desktop appraisal or a drive-by appraisal. They don't need to look at the property physically to give you the money, but obviously they won't give you 90% of the loan. They're gonna have you put down more than 10% down payment, because they're not looking at the property from the inside, meaning a physical appraisal. Therefore, the risk is higher, so they might give you a higher interest rate. But that's an option, right? But we avoid occupied properties, because even if you purchase a property, the problem is, now what do you do with the tenant? You need to get them out. So would you do an eviction? Will they vandalize the property? It's just a headache that you don't need, right? That could just screw all your numbers. So you need to avoid occupied properties, okay? For funding reasons and for safety reasons. So that's how you secure the funding for the property. Now, let's assume that you want to wholesale the property. Where do you find the cash buyers to wholesale the property? Boom, DealVault right here. Cash buyers. So this property is in Bellevue. So we can find all the cash buyers in Bellwood. So all I need to do, remember, this is your target audience, Bellwood. So for those of you thinking about wholesaling, let's assume that we want to wholesale the property. You have to buy the property, but once you buy it through this system, you can wholesale the property. So how many cash buyers we found? 113 cash buyers. These are your target audience. People used to buy in retail retail properties from the MLS paying cash. These are your target audience. We give you the contact information, who they are, how many properties they bought, even we skip tracing. So when you click on their name, we give you their contact information so you can reach out to them, boom, via email, phone number, text, anything. If you want to wholesale the property, in ChicagoDealVault, you can do wholesales, meaning you can post or we can post the wholesales deals for you, and we can do a blast email to the entire network. So we give you, if you don't have time to find the deal, look at the wholesales in DealVault. So all the members put the wholesale deals in here. We have 45 active wholesale deals. So you can just quickly look at any of the wholesale deals in the areas you're interested in. If you don't have time to get a property on their contract, we give you, the information right here and who the wholesaler is right here. We give you the contact information. And if the numbers make sense, obviously you need to do your due diligence. You can pick up a wholesale deal from a DealVault member or a wholesaler. So we have 45 active wholesale deals. If you have one deal, we'll blast it through the network. And this is all for free. Something that I want to show you that is so critical. We have a wholesale tab right here. We give you all the contracts that you can possibly need. Scroll down right here. We give you the assignment of a contract. We give you the assignment consideration for the seller, for the buyer. So we give you all the contracts right here. So you just pick the one you like, click on download, and then boom, we give you all the contracts. So we got these from Castle Law. Gary Davidson from Castle Law is our preferred attorney. We give you all the contracts that you can possibly need for a wholesale deal. Okay, for an assignment, for a double close, we can help you. So this is so critical. So far, let's just recap what we did, guys. We pretty much analyze hot rental markets. We access great off-market deals with a spread of over $75,000. I show you how to analyze deals in seconds. Not only that, but I show you how you can secure funding by providing our money lenders or private money lenders 3 things they look for. They are looking for the successful flip and rental exit strategy. They're looking how you came up with the ARV, which I show you side by side, apples with apples. And finally, debt coverage ratio of 125 and above. In this case was 174, which is a no-brainer for them to give you money because they're asset-based. They're looking at the asset itself, not so much at you. Obviously, your experience, your FICO score matters when it comes to the interest rate they give you. Obviously, the better the credit, the more experience, you're going to get a lower interest rate on the loan and maybe less points to pay. We pay less than 2 points and about 9.25 for interest rate on rehab loans. And keep in mind, once you need to apply the BRRRR strategy, which is our secret sauce. You buy it, you rehab it, you rent it, and then you refinance and you repeat, right? So when you refinance, asset-based lenders, most of them nowadays have the rental program. So all they need to do is make the rehab loan into a rental loan. So you save on appraisal, you save on closing costs because you're dealing pretty much with the same lender. And that is our secret sauce to build a rental portfolio. Increase your net worth by over $1 million in the next year or so because we give you the tools, the inventory, the training for you to do that. Right now, right off the bat, we found a deal that makes, it's a home run deal, okay? This one, double. Take a picture of this property because this is a home run deal that we analyzed. This just makes perfect sense for a rental. Remember, stay away from flips right now. I'm gonna tell you what's being hit the hardest right now. Flips, short-term rentals like Airbnbs, nobody's traveling, commercial real estate, all the storefronts, mixed use, forget it. Small businesses are going out of business right now. So stay away from them. Stick to rentals. Why rentals? Other people's money, other people's time. You can have infinite return by having very little money on the deal, having passive income on a monthly basis, which is what you need in a crisis like this, right? You need passive income, because if you, for whatever reason, you may not have your job down the road. If you have passive income, guess what? You can do anything you want, right? Like my family and myself are hanging out in Mexico. We're gonna go every weekend on a road trip to like the ocean, to visit family, to different places in Mexico, enjoy the nice weather. Obviously taking our precautions, staying safe, but this is what passive income can give you. It gives you not only the financial freedom, but most importantly, the freedom of time, that you can go anywhere whenever you want without depending on the employer. Okay, this is what I gave you today, the formula for you to buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. Make this your secret formula for you to increase your net worth by at least 1 million in the next year or 2 years, which is how you're gonna have just financial freedom and freedom of time, which is the most important intangible asset that we can possess in our life, freedom of time. So you can spend quality time with your loved ones, friends. That is my objective, for you to replicate our success story. Therefore, we're making everything available to you. Many people in the webinar asked for our preferred partners, contractors, everything and everyone that we use are right here. From the attorney, Gary Davidson, from the Harmony lenders, Chicago Funding, Barnett Capital, from plumbing inspectors, so insurance. This is big, right? So we use Patrick McCarthy for insurance. From another one, inspectors. Or we use George for the inspector, and you name it. Window repairs, new windows, you name it. Appliances. This is huge, right? We buy semi-used appliances for rentals. We typically sometimes save a lot of money on buying semi-used appliances. So everyone and everything that we use is right here. Even photography, right? When you put properties for rent on the MLS, please don't take pictures yourself. Take professional pictures. They charge between 100 to 150. By all means, it's worth a ton of your time. Training, guys. So we are putting all our training and webinars. Also, I want to make sure that all of you download the DealVault app. Okay, we have over 100 videos. So everything we're putting on our DealVault app. Now, I want to make sure that every one of you has the DealVault app. All you need to do is text 818. I'm putting this in the chat. 818, and text the DealVault. Okay, I just sent it via the chat. Text 818, and then the keyword DealVault. You're gonna get a reply with the links for the Apple Store and the Google Play Store for you to download the ChicagoDealVault. It's free. We give you all the training in a sequential manner for you to replicate our success. So make sure that you download the app, and then you are free to schedule as many one-on-one trainings with us. Look at the upper right-hand corner. This is the scheduled training. We do unlimited one-on-one trainings with you. Anything you're stuck, let us know. We're gonna make sure that we give you answers. There are some questions right here. How can I contact the bank to buy shadow inventory? So all of you can go to the bank-owned properties right here under the off-market, and we give you the bank's information. So when I click on one of these properties, right here, we give you the plaintiff's phone number. So this is the attorney for the bank. We give it to you. But remember, if it's a big bank, they're not gonna talk to you. Like Nation Star is a huge bank. They're not gonna talk to you or sell you any properties. Remember, you need to go to small community banks if you're gonna buy directly from the bank. But if you are a yearly subscriber, we can give you access to the shadow inventory or bank-owned properties where you stand in line up front, no competition. We pull them from the back door. We tell you how much the bank is gonna sell it for. And that's just a way to, speed up you building a $1 million empire, which there's no reason for you not to be able to do it when we give you all that you need to have to accomplish that objective. There's another question. Do you have any preference on money lenders No, anything on that we have in the preferred partners, we use them all. We've used them all. They're all great. That is why they are in the preferred partners tab. Another question is there another way to get trainings other than through the DealVault tab? Yes, of course. You see this green button, it says schedule training. I just clicked on it. It's gonna take you to our online schedule. Here you pick a day and time, okay? And then we're gonna schedule a webinar face-to-face, one-on-one, 1 hour. Pick the day, the time, and we wanna make sure that we give you the training that you need on any area. If you are struggling with funding, accessing deals, analyzing deals, anything that you can think of, we are going to train you one-on-one, okay? It's unlimited. And something that is really cool that I'm making available to you guys. Remember that I told you, other people's time, other people's money. We have, behind DealVault, we have 26 people backing us up. And they are in the Philippines, in India, in Russia, in Ukraine, in Kosovo, so we have a lot of people backing us up. So this is what I'm gonna make available to you. Even if you don't have time to do what I showed you today, all you need to do is give us the areas that you're interested in. So do your analysis on the areas, give them to us via email, and guess what? I'm gonna dedicate a virtual assistant for you to find you deals off market. Not only that, we're gonna do the flip and rental analysis that I showed you, the PDF that I showed you. They're gonna email you these to your inbox, already analyzed, okay, for off market deals. And not only that, but we're gonna send you the owner's contact information for you to reach out to them. Remember, most importantly right now, people going through emotional and financial distress, please exercise empathy. They're going through tough times. Empathize with them. Put yourself in their shoes, okay? Be kind, be soft. Don't say, oh, I want to buy your property. No, find out exactly what they need, what they want. If they want to sell the property, then try, obviously, to give them a solution. That's what we are, problem solvers. And in the process, we benefit big time, right? By getting home run deals. So exercise empathy. So please send us the areas, as many areas, 1, 2, 10, 50, send us the areas. We have 3 full-time dedicated people. All they do all day long is exactly what I showed you today. They find deals, they analyze them, and they send them to our members. They send those deals to us. So even if I'm having a great time with my family in Mexico, if they find a great deal, they're gonna send me a text message. They're gonna send me an email, say, hey, Hugo, just pay attention to this property. And then obviously it's up to me if I take the next step. But we are doing our job to spoon feed you great deals. Even if you don't have the time to access DealVault, it's okay. We're gonna send you the deals in your inbox. And that's what they do for us. That is why we rarely miss great deals. Why? Because we have people doing that for you and for us. We want to make sure that we leverage from other people's time, right? And especially they're in the other side of the country, other side of the continent, so we're leveraging from the time difference. When we sleep, guess what? They work. So when we get up, boom, we have deals. So please take advantage of these. Send us as many areas as you have for your upcoming deals, and we're gonna find and analyze them and send them to your inbox, including the owner's phone number and email. But if you want to be part of this DealVault shadow inventory, you need to be a yearly DealVault subscriber. Okay, so if you are on a month-to-month, you're paying $140, upgrade to the yearly, and guess what? Not only will you have access to the back door to pull the deals, but you're going to save 15 to 20% on your membership. So instead of paying $140 a month, you're going to be paying $120. So you're going to be saving money on a monthly basis. Not only that, you have access to all the shadow inventory or REOs that we can pull from the back door. So you beat all competition. No competition, no bidding, no nothing. We just pick, select, stand in front of the line. I want this property. That's it. Okay. Obviously, you are going to get vetted. We're going to ask you for your entity and your line of credit, but that's just the way to just speed up your process to build $1 billion portfolio. So if you're not a yearly subscriber, please send us an email to support@ChicagoDealVault.com and ask to say, ask to upgrade to yearly. Okay, and we already have your billing information. When you send an email with the subject say upgrade, we know that it's for the yearly package. So we'll upgrade you. You're going to be saving money. We're going to give you access to the inventory like right away. We're getting 1,000 properties a week. Can you imagine? Even if you do one deal a year, I mean, the one that I showed you that we did in Cicero is worth $70,000 to us, that we increase our network, actually 77,000. Imagine if you just do one deal a year, would it be worth it? Is that a yes or a yes? If this gives you the final push to be more successful, would it be worth it? Is that a yes or a yes? If it gives you the ability to accomplish financial freedom of time and money, would it be worth it? Is that a yes or a yes? How much is one awesome home run deal worth to you? To me, that Cicero property that I showed you is worth 77,000. Even if I was to pay somebody 30,000, it's worth it to me. Why? Because I pay 30,000 and if I gain 77, I double my money. Does that make sense? That's how the pros think. They think value. How much value am I getting? Ordinary investors think cost. Oh, how much is that going to cost me a month? How much is that going to be a month? No, you need to change your mindset. What's the value? How much value am I getting? So if I have the chance to strike a home run deal, even if it's once a year, is it worth it? It's a no-brainer, right? You need to think value. So if you don't have access to this shadow inventory, I want to make sure that all DealVault members have access to this, because right now, my job, Hugo, that's what I've been pulling properties from shadow inventory. So we pulled no less than 5 in the last 2.5 months. Okay, so right now we have 2 under contract, Mount Prospect and Elmwood Park. And every week that I log onto the system, like I showed you today, we found a home run deal in Bellwood. Bellwood, it's a very strong rental market. You put it in the market today, in a week, you're gonna have 5 applicants. No kidding. Bellwood is so hot for rentals, despite the fact the schools are not the best, but people just wanna move to Bellwood. Why? I have no clue. Nor do I care. I just care about having demand, collecting high rents, people not defaulting today. So I want to make sure that you have access to all of that. So yes, all of this is going to be shown in the replay. So we're recording everything. Today we're going to send a replay so you have it all, okay, in your inbox tomorrow. But please, if you want to upgrade, send us an email to ChicagoDealVault. And if you don't have access to DealVault, I'm going to give it to you for free for the next 30 days. So this is what you need to do, guys. If you don't have access to DealVault, I'm going to give it to you for free. All you need to do is go to ChicagoDealVault.com. I'm going to give you a promo code, okay? Click on sign up, or just scroll down to the bottom where you see the pricing table. This is the pricing table. Click on get started. I'm going to send you the link. So this is the link that I'm going to send to everyone. If you do not have access to DealVault, this is how you can get it for free. Go to that link, fill this out, and then select for the package special. I'm going to give you package should be special Chicago DealVault. Okay, this is the drop down right here. Special Chicago DealVault, and then the promo code is Bootcamp. Bootcamp. Oh, Bootcamp. So I'm gonna put it in the chat. If you have somebody who does not have access to DealVault, please send them this info. Promo code is, it could be lowercase or capital letters. It's Bootcamp. Bootcamp, that's a promo code. They're gonna get DealVault for free for 30 days. After that, it's going to be $140 per month. Okay, and if you want to do the yearly is going to be $1440 per year. That is going to give you access to the shadow inventory, okay, where you can pull properties from the back door. So I'm going to put back door. That means pull properties from the back door. If you want to do the yearly, it's $1440, but you can upgrade anytime. So 30 days for free, check it out. You have nothing to lose. All you have to lose is the stress and headache of trying to find deals, analyze them, getting funded. That's what you're gonna lose. Because once you get set up, then you can truly replicate our success story. And this is the thing, friends. Money comes and goes, right? But time does not. time disappears. So you can go out and spend months and years of your valuable time away from your family trying to figure all this out, but instead you should save that time and effort. Why? Because we have to spend that time and effort for you, and instead you should work directly with us, because this money, you're gonna get it 100 times full, whereas the time spent away from your family in trial and error is wasted effort and is gone forever. So I wanna make sure that you take advantage of this promo code, Bootcamp. You're gonna get DealVault, everything for free for the next 30 days. And if you're a DealVault member on a monthly basis, please upgrade to the yearly, because you saw, we just found one deal that is worth over 50,000, the Bellwood property that we can pull from the back door today. 50,000, boom, right off the bat. So by all means, if you don't have access to the shadow inventory, upgrade. If you don't have your entity, we're gonna give you the accountant who can set up the entity for you, because I wanna make sure that you have an entity, apply for business credit cards, and start pulling properties from the back door, okay? I'm sure that I gave you a lot of information today, but that was my objective, for you to speed network. Not only that, give it all to you in one go. We spent 2.5 hours together, 3 hours, but to me, that was so important to give it all to you, because right now, guys, in this crisis, this is where you need to take a step back and sharpen the saw. That's Stephen Covey's in his book, Highly Effective People. That is one of the habits. Sharpen your saw. Take this downtime to sharpen your saw. Learn everything that you have not in the past. Watch the replay for this webinar, and most importantly, take action, okay? Tony Robinson said, action trumps knowledge. So you can have all the knowledge, be a wizard, a guru, but if you don't take action, guess what? It does nothing to you. Action trumps knowledge. Keep that in mind. Action trumps knowledge. So guys, we want to work with successful people. If you're one of those, please take action today. If you want to remain average, that's okay with us, but we want to work with successful people. I want to make sure that not only do we give you the technology, the training, but also our virtual assistants, our people. I want to make sure that they find deals for you. So send us as many areas as you need, and we will find deals for you off market. And please, if you're not a DealVault member, send us an email. I'm going to put it in the chat. Send email, if I can type, email with subject upgrade. Upgrade Blue Angel, okay? And we know, or yearly. And we know what that means, right? We have your billing information. We'll just upgrade you to the yearly, and then you're gonna be saving not only the money, but also access the, shadow inventory that we can pull from the back door. So thank you everyone for joining today. We spent 3 amazing hours. I'm so happy that I was able to be with you today. I'm so much looking forward to having you on our next online event. You will get the replay for today's event. Please upgrade to the yearly, take action, learn, sharpen your saw. And guys, I'm committed to your financial and freedom success. That's my commitment to you, okay? I wanna make sure that everything we have is gonna be available to all of you today, not tomorrow, today. So thank you everyone for joining today. I look forward to seeing you in our next live event. So stay tuned, you're gonna get a text message, email, you'll hear from us on our next live event. And please stay safe, protect your family, spend quality time, step back, sharpen your saw, and I look forward to seeing you very soon next week. So thank you everyone, stay safe everyone, and please connect with each other, okay? Thank you guys. Take care, bye-bye.